Hello, and welcome to another episode of My Dirty Living Room. I'm your host, Michael. With me today, I have Maria and Steven. And today we are playing Beyond the Wall, and we are using the Goblin Infestation scenario pack. Very excited to have the two of you with us. Maria, did you have an idea for which playbook you wanted to use today?
I was looking at the Student of the Dark Arts.
Very cool. Very cool. And how about you, Steven?
Yeah, we just discussed this a bit. I'm going to take the Watchman, I think.
Ooh, yes, the new Watchman. Okay. So before we kind of start off on the process of character creation, village creation, all that fun stuff, I want to talk about our cat structure today. Concept is going to be young adventurers kind of going on their first adventure, so to speak, right? That's the thing that Beyond the Wall bills itself as. So the playbooks I structured here today kind of allow for, there's a little bit of, what's the word there? One is different than the other. So to make it more plain, we have, for the magicians, we had the student of the dark arts and the devout acolyte. For the warriors, we had the new watchman and the reformed bully. The rogues are a little bit weirder, and since we don't have rogues today, we don't have to worry about it. So that's the kind of the concept here. Goblins are going to come and invade your town, and we're going to have the kids be the ones who solve that problem and save the day. Aim-wise, Beyond the Wall is sort of billed as being more one-shot focused. So this is going to be hopefully a one-shot adventure. We'll kind of encapsulate everything in this 4-hour session. So we're going to start with this discussion, move on to character creation and village creation, which is kind of cool. It happens all together at once. Take a quick break, and then we'll go into the actual events themselves. Tone-wise, I'd like to keep it kind of lighthearted, but also dire circumstances. So I'm willing to kind of play between those two things. Not necessarily worried too much about going gonzo. I think we're going to try to keep the stakes kind of low and centered and domestic in a way. So I think that'll help us stray from going too gonzo. Subject matter, I'm thinking maybe PG-13 is a pretty safe blanket idea there. We are playing as teenagers, so if sex is something that's going to be on the table, I'd rather that be like kind of veiled or something like that, or avoided. Same with sexual assault and violence. I don't want to see that. Again, violence against children is normally something that's off the table, but we are playing as teenagers who are experiencing and doing violence in a kind of fantastical setting. But I think we're going to try to avoid it being too gruesome, if that makes sense, right? Death even is kind of on the table, but I know I'm not going to be pushing for that necessarily. Does anybody have any other lines or veils or things that they want to talk about before we move on? Okay, we do have the X card on the table as well. X card is anytime we come to any content that you find uncomfortable in an unfun way is one way that it's described. You can use that X card. Basically, if there's any content that you would like to have removed from the story, the table, the scene, whatnot, put your hands up in an X, say X card, type it in the chat, whatever you do, so we all know that we want to get that off the table. We'll talk about that. Maybe take a quick break if necessary. Cool. That's our cast discussion. Easy breezy. Let's go ahead and look at character creation. It's a pretty simple process thanks to this spreadsheet I so lovingly crafted. Took me way too long. I'm going to go ahead and screen share here so that everyone can kind of see what we're working with. The entire screen, please. Okay. So it's pretty simple here. You put in your name, your pronouns, for ease of use there. go ahead and you've already picked your playbooks. It tells you a little bit of your information. We're going to go ahead and go through these die prompts first before we talk about stats and numbers and all that kind of less fun stuff, because we'll probably do the calculation for that afterwards. If you look here on the first column, we'll look here at column A, right? And Maria's here in this first column. When it asks what your childhood was like, right? It has a prompt here for 1d12. So in the cell below that, which here is A9, you're going to roll a d12 and enter your result there. And that will go ahead and tell you what your parents did in the village, what you learned from them, and the effect that that's going to have on your stats. Sound good?
Do you want me to do
Yep.
that right now?
Sure. And I shared the role for your party room
That's a 1.
in the events. Okay, so go ahead and put a 1 in there. And
So
that
I
tells
think
us
that's
what
orphan. Yeah.
you are an orphan, and things were hard for you.
Cool. Nice spreadsheet.
If it works, we'll see. This is the first time putting it through the real paces, so
It's working so far.
Submit. That is a 6 for 8.
cool. So we're gonna let's go ahead and do this together. I'll take turns pointing at each of you and getting your responses, because what we're also going to maybe do is start building our map here of the village as well. Being an orphan and things were hard for you, I think that is not adding NPCs for us yet, but that's good to know about. Steven, you rolled a 3, and what was your result there?
Your parents were fishermen and you grew up by the river, which means that there is now a river.
Right. So one more link I have here in the event page, and I'm going to just pause my screen sharing here so that I can get to that. Is an online whiteboard. I'm concerned that I'm giving you all way too many windows to have to jump between. But we're gonna try the whiteboard for today, just to see if it is useful for us.
So do you want us drawing on this then? Can I go ahead and add the river in?
Absolutely.
Let's see. Oh, like that's
gotta
black.
Find out where it's at though.
Can I change the color, or is it just black and white?
I think if you click on the
It
pencil
does.
tool,
It's got a blue.
By the way, the third thing I rolled was the fisherman took a liking to me and swapped stories with me.
perfect.
Oh, nice.
So it makes sense.
It's gonna work out.
So it works out.
Yes. Okay. I'm trying to get to my own link here.
Did you just get
do you want me to keep rolling for the job, quote unquote, or do you want me to stop after childhood for now?
You can roll them all if you're ready, but I'd like to discuss one in each turn, so feel free to just get them all on the table there.
I rolled them in order, which should not be a thing. Okay, delete select.
Here we are. Oh, cool, and you can zoom in and out. Lovely. So we've got a nice river going.
Yeah, I'm going to spend the whole session working on this river.
Well, if that's kind of fun, then all good.
I think that's a sick. That's a sick 2 again, because I hit the reroll button.
And also, the way I feel about rolling on tables, I know that some people are diehard, like you roll and you get your response and you use it. I'm kind of a roll or choose kind of guy. So if you're like, I'm not really digging being an orphan, we can re-roll. That's cool.
It says 1d6 and then a twisted wand of Rowan. So do you want me to put the one there that I just rolled, or
Yeah, it's a weird glitch for that last row there.
okay?
So hopefully, if you put in your result, it'll give you the actual correct number.
It doesn't.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's one I never figured out.
Okay.
Hold on here. So 1d6 for the.
I think it's that you have to put the false there. Let me see if that fixes it. Let's see what happens if it changes the number. Yeah, it you have to put false after the thing because it happened to me when I was doing the undying sheets. It means that it's not sorted, so therefore you have to take the first one that comes in. And it's probably because somewhere in the other in the other
It got sorted
boxes
somehow.
it's probably because there's like repeating terms like Rowan is a thing or mentioned twice or something. I don't know. It depends.
Thank you, Maria. You have saved me.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I don't know why it got rid of your questions too. That's also weird.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know.
I can always read them out to you because I have them available here.
Uh,
Maybe it was too fancy. Well, actually, for the first part at least, they're all the same as Stevens, whose also aren't showing up.
What, my questions aren't showing up?
oh, I think it's because since you copy and pasted, maybe then that's what it makes it so that it looks for n something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or I have no idea.
I'll have time to figure it out for the next week.
Yeah.
I think it might have something to do with the array.
Yeah. A good thing that I did for the undying sheet is like saving it as a name
Excel.
variable. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Like
Or not
naming the
name
range.
variable. I forget what it's called, but like save the array as its own thing so that it doesn't switch when you paste it to other.
You name the range or whatever, right?
Yeah, named range. That's it.
That could be fun to work with too. Well, I could talk about Excel nerdery all day, but we'll look more at our childhoods here. So things were hard for you as an orphan, but you never met someone who didn't like you. That's pretty cool. So you find yourself to be a little bit more charismatic,
I guess, or at least more charismatic than usual.
or at least likable, which could mean other things.
Likable, likable.
And Steven, you were the toughest kid around, is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was destined for a life in violence, I think.
Very cool. So we've learned about your parents. We've learned how you each distinguished yourselves as children. So now we know that the other player characters were your best friends, right? Who else in the village befriended you while you were growing up? Maria, you already alluded to
The fisherman.
the fisherman, which is perfect. How about your character, Stephen?
Okay, so that's question 3. So I went camping with the hunters.
The
Yeah.
hunters. Okay. So fishing and hunting. So we. How about this, Maria? Do you have a link to that whiteboard up yet anywhere? Why don't you draw a map on there somewhere of where the fisher's favorite watering hole or spot was? And Stephen, if you want to draw the hunter's camp somewhere on that map as well.
Okay. By the way, the reason I've drawn this funky fjord thing is because of that Nordic reference that you made. So I'm kind of thinking like Viking-ish kind of stuff. So I thought a fjord would be fitting for that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like
So
the most Nordic word I can think of.
that's as Nordic as it gets. So anyway, that's why the river branches out, and that's why I put it so close to the end.
Love it.
Okay, so I'm drawing in the hunting place.
Fjord is to the south where the river opens up. I guess to
Yeah.
the fjord.
Yeah.
Okay. So many windows.
Yeah.
I need more monitors.
Okay. All right. I got my hunting grounds in.
Here I have a link for Viking names. Nope, that's the name of the thing. Hold on. Because I'm going to ask you all to name some of these people, and I don't want to trip you up. So, Maria, how about you give us a name for these fishermen?
Well, it's the fishermen are Stephen's character's family, so I'm guessing they would have the same last name. So I would defer to him for last name.
Okay.
I think Olaf
We got
is his
Olaf.
father.
Very cool.
And let me get a female name. Grimhild is his mom.
Olaf and Brynhild. We are
Grimhild, but yeah,
Grimhild.
yeah.
We are off to a very Viking start. I'm digging it. Stephen, would you have an idea for a last name for the fishing clan of this village?
I'm playing with the automatic generator. That's not cool enough. None of them are quite cool enough. Oh, that's pretty cool. Sigwulfson.
Sigwulfson.
Sigwulfson, yeah. So I'll stick that in the chat so that it's because there's a lot of weird letters in it and I can't spell that. Sigwulfson, I guess.
Okay, Sigwulfson. Hopefully we will not have to spend too much time remembering that, but I have written it down. But Olaf and Grimhild, I think, is pretty good. So let's do the same sort of thing. Stephen, why don't you give us some first names for one or two of these hunters? And Maria, you can offer a last name.
So I think the hunters that I go out with all the time, one of them is just named Wolf, Wulf.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of the lead hunter from the village, the oldest hunter from the village, and Skodir, Skoedir, would be like his apprentice, more or less.
A note for a Nordic names. It's a son is for the males and the females end with dotir in their last names. So in their and I messed up. I will have the hunters be named Johansson. Like maybe
Okay.
parent and child.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Wolf and young Skodir are some of the hunters that we know of. I think Skodir is younger, but maybe still he's like a young adult now, right? Probably maybe 20 or so. So he's outside of the age range of your characters, but maybe an older brother type figure could be.
Yeah, and I think my character probably looked up to Scodier quite a bit.
For sure. Okay. So the next thing we look at here on the character sheets. Okay. So that's the first part. So the second part of these questions here is talking more about your character class. So here we have Maria. You chose to be the student of the dark arts. Basically, functionally, you're becoming a level 1 mage, getting some class abilities, a cool cantrip, and stuff like that. But their first line of questions is, what happened as you studied the dark arts? And the first question that they have for you is, how did you begin your studies?
And I rolled, and I'll keep the roll because I have an explanation. My
Okay.
family is actually a secret covenant, has been for generations. I'm gonna say they've all been killed
Oh, wow.
at some point.
So you're the last of your coven.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you draw on the map for us where your coven meeting place was?
Okay. I think they go and met like around here. And then actually let me make it smaller.
And
And
Steven, what
how
was
do
your...
how
Oh,
would
I'm
we
sorry, Maria.
sorry, how do we add letters?
I think it might be
Oh,
handwriting only.
hands at
No, you can add letters. I did it. It was difficult. So like there's a see where the if you click on the little pencil thing, it gives you an letters at the top.
oh, okay.
Yeah, like I don't really know how I managed to get it to work, but I clicked my mouse until it went to the correct input.
Oh, I see.
Mm.
You can tell me how you did it then.
I have
Okay.
not had a chance to play around with this too much, so...
And I don't know how to move things around, so this is gonna be amazing.
So for you, Steven, I want to know what your watch training was like.
Okay, and that's because I was drilling with the archer levy and manning the wall, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that fits with him being a hunter anyway. So I think maybe because he'd previously gone hunting with Wolf and Skodier and was already skilled with the bow, that's just where they put him. So his training looked like a lot of shooting at dummies and whatnot, in addition to going out and hunting.
Perfect. I'm really happy because this gives us an opportunity to draw a wall.
Yeah. So I'll draw the wall in.
The titular wall. Okay. And then Maria, for your character, what magics did you learn, and how do you hold back the dark?
It says you are the light in the darkness. I learned Vanish Undead, Mage Armor, and Mage Light.
Interesting. So even though you are a student of the dark arts, you are the light in the darkness.
Yes.
I will get copies of those spells and rituals and cantrips onto the character sheet so that you can reference those in the future. See what they actually do. Very cool. Steven, who was the first person you saved as a watchman?
So I got, when a fire started in the back of the inn, you rescued the cook and helped douse the blaze.
Ooh, cool. So we have the inn on the map, but I would like for you to give us a name for the cook.
Do we have a Sigrid yet? Or a Sigrid? Yeah.
We have no Sigrid. We have a
Okay.
Sigurwolfsson, but no Sigrid.
We'll go with Sigrid then.
Okay.
And I think because this is a small village, I think Sigrid is, let's say that's Wolf's wife.
Okay.
Is that cool?
I like that. Okay. You definitely have some strong ties to those hunters there.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see him like kind of trying to get away from the fisherman and be like more of a fighter and kind of uh, being a little embarrassed about where he came from and who
Mm.
his parents are because he wants to be a warrior.
I like this odd family dynamic we already have kind of erupting from this. So, for you, Maria, your character, something recently showed you just how dangerous and how necessary your studies are. So, what happened to bring you to the defense of your home?
A violent and bigoted witch hunter came to the village after hearing of my studies, convinced that the whole village was, or the whole place was cursed. The friend to your right helped you scare him away, save the witch, and gains +1 con.
What I love about that one is that there is a witch.
Yes.
So, if you could give us the name of that witch and where she lives. So, whether she lives in the village, if she lives outside of it, however that
Uh,
works.
her name is Helga.
Helga the witch.
Uh, Gyrdottir. And she basically lives near the coven. I will draw that out to live with, or not.
So, the magic that Helga practices is different from your own, would you say?
It would be the same because it says that my studies, so I guess it's the same kind of magic.
Okay. But she's not a part of your coven, right?
She was not a family member, no.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And Stephen, for your Watchmen, the question is what happened the last time the village was seriously threatened?
Okay, so I got a marauding monstrosity crawled its way into the village and began attacking your neighbors. The friend to your right held back the beast while you struck it down, and they gain +1 strength, right?
Yes, indeed. So tell us a little bit more about this monstrosity crawling its way into the village. What did it look like?
I think because this is Norse and because this way, am I pronouncing this right, Maria? Is it Alfgeir? Alfgeir? Alf
Alfgeir?
Alfgeir. Okay. um, because she was able to hold it back.
He.
Oh, he.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Because he was able to hold it back. Let's make it a wolf, like a great wolf. That either got into the gates or jumped over the wall even. Maybe the wall is in poor repair, and this giant like white winter wolf was able to jump it uh, and begin marauding until Alfgeir was able to grab it.
And you took the killing blow. Very cool. Alfgeir is a pretty beefy mage, I find. But he's kind of had to make his own way in the world, so I can see that. Final question for your mage here, Maria. What did he find in a hidden tomb outside of the village?
He found a twisted wand of Rowan.
Ooh, okay. Twisted Wand of Ruin. And if you could mark on that map where that hidden tomb could be found.
I'm still working on Helga's place because don't I don't know how to move things around here.
Does that work there? Nope, that just moves around the whole map.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, no.
yeah, that's still kind of a maybe in my mind. I saw I played yesterday in a game of Fiasco and they used a Google Drawing and that was a lot easier to work with. So I might try that out for next time.
Yeah, Google Drawing is much easier than this, I find.
Good to know. Very cool. A twisted wand of ruin. And Stephen, for your character, who stands with you in your watch?
So it's going to be the old man who trained me to be a watchman. I could see that going two ways. If you think it's better for this to be like tight and really well contained, we could say that that's Wolf, the old man who I went hunting with all the time. If you think it's best to introduce new characters, I can think up another one.
Give me one more.
Okay. Let me. I'm gonna make that an older woman, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be kind of cool. Let's make her name. Oh, let's make her name Grima. That's a good old woman name.
Grima. Don't mess with Grima. Oh wow! And it looks like we might not even have our drawing for the whole time.
Oh, did you just get that message too, saying it was going to shut down?
Oh my goodness! Google Drawings is winning again. But I think we'll have enough time. We'll probably save the image and kind of use it as a reference. Very cool. So we have Grima is your the woman who trained you to be on the watch, and she will now be an ally for you. Keep that in mind. I like that. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break here in a moment, but I want to nail down some more details. Did you have a name for your character, Stephen?
Oh, sorry. Let me fiddle around with this until I get one. Oh, Brand. Let's go Brand. Brand. That's easy to remember.
Brand and Alfgeir. Okay. So we're going to have a little bit of paperwork here to do after all is said and done, which is not super exciting, but gets the job done. But I want to look at one more prompt here before we do that, which is what happened earlier in the day today. So this is going to kind of be our flashback, right? So if someone could roll 1d8 for me and tell me the result.
Why don't you do that, Maria? I got too many things. I got too many things open.
It's a 5.
A 5. Okay. So another village was having a small festival, and you decided to go to the festivities. You will be returning to a very different home. So that's kind of what the flashback we're having before we come back to our village. Let's go ahead and work together to get our character sheets filled out. That's one part of the spreadsheet I did not automate. So I see, Maria, you're already killing it. You already got your scores up there already for the most part.
Oh, wow.
But if you look at the top 2 cells on the character creation, it'll show you, the second cell will be what your starting scores are. So Maria, we already know that Alfgeir is more intelligent and tough than he might appear. So he starts with Constitution and Intelligence at 10, everything else at 8. And Rand is strong, alert, and patient. So they have Strength and Wisdom at 10, and all the other ability scores are at 8. So that's where we start off.
Okay, so Strength and Wisdom from me are 10, and everything else is 8, and then I just add from there?
And then we add, yes.
Cool.
A little bit of math, but nothing too complicated.
Gotcha.
If we had abacus character sheets here, it'd be easier. So the way that skills work is basically that there's nothing more to a skill other than the name. So if you look at the character sheet tab, that is, you could just type in your skills in each of those lines, right? So Stephen Brand will have fishing. Maria Alfgear will have forbidden secrets, stealth, right? And I will get the copies of the spells that you have as well. I think what we'll do here is just take about a 10-minute off-camera break. So that can be filling in numbers, going to the bathroom, getting snacks, whatever you got to do. Does that sound good for everybody?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. That's a good idea.
Cool.
All right. See you guys in 10.
Mike, you there?
I am here.
All right. You don't mind me eating dinner, right?
Not a problem at all.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Let's see where we're at. That was a little bit longer than 10 minutes, maybe. I was not looking at the clock. Is everybody good?
It actually took me that long to figure out what the damage for my stuff was, so that was fine.
I
Yeah.
actually don't know what my weapons or ritual dagger does.
It's
Which what does you said?
Ritual dagger, is that the same as a regular dagger?
I'd imagine. Probably, yeah.
Okay, I will just copy the dagger thing over. um,
Okay.
Dark robes, I guess that doesn't add to
yeah.
AP, and the
For
one does something, or does the one do anything?
I think it very well could. Let me look up wands.
Yeah, I tried looking up like weapons in that book, and I don't know where to find them. So
Weapons is in the rulebook on page 13. That took me a while to figure out.
yeah.
And so is armor. So yeah,
Ooh.
it took a little bit for me to figure out like how much damage everything did and how much armor save everything had.
Sorry, I did not have all of that ready for you in a more presentable way.
No, that's fine. It's just because it's not in the playbook. It's I think you can only find it in the rulebook, which I just happen to have.
Wait,
Good to know.
the to hit is already calculated though, right?
To
So
hit is calculated by your base attack
yeah.
bonus. So
For me, and since it's melee, only get a 0. Okay, that makes sense.
the Rowan wand, I do have the skinny on that. It allows the bearer to cast an extra spell per day.
Um.
And it also, when the proper command word is uttered, a blue candle flame will spark at the tip of the wand.
All right.
How many spells per day do you have? Good question. I don't really know.
I don't know either. So do you have any bonus to damage, or is that just modifier and whatever?
Yeah, I don't think that would necessarily be used as
Yeah.
a weapon.
No, I was talking because of the dagger. Sorry, I am doing 10 things at once, trying to figure out this system.
Yeah,
So,
it's a little trad.
so the one, what did you say about the one again? Sorry.
Extra spell per day, and you have spells per day equal to your level. So you
2
can
spells per day,
still you have one spell per day,
and then with the one, it's 2.
right? So you've doubled your spells per day. That's pretty decent. And you also have a nice little blue candle flame whenever you need one.
So I don't have to use Mage Light. Yay.
Now, I will say that your cantrips and rituals do not count towards your spells per day.
Okay, and what are rituals and what are cantrips, and yeah.
Yes. So cantrips are sort of like smaller magic that you might do. You kind of have access to those all the time. For you is Mage Light, and you also have Second Sight, which allows you to kind of talk to the dead and to fairies and demons and things like that. But if you want to converse with them, you need to know their language, which,
Oh, right.
since you have a +1 modifier, you technically get one extra language.
Hold up, I forgot about the class abilities: sense magic and spellcasting. Okay.
Yes, you also have those. If you look at the Knacks and Spells tab that I have on the character sheet, I've put some of that stuff on there. Sense Magic is on there. The definition of the different knacks for the warriors is on there.
And then the skill forbidden secrets.
And I put your character's particular rituals and spells there, so just the relevant stuff. Let's see. Brand is a very He's got a good eye, it looks like.
Yeah, he's he's wise beyond his years.
And then I have an extra language. I don't know how I learned this language, but I guess it's just witch language, I guess, or something the witches taught me.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, you can come up with that. It can be whatever language you like. You said like a magical, like
Yeah.
witch language that your coven speaks.
Okay.
I like that.
Coven language. I will not define that yet because I don't know the languages.
All right. Shield, leathers.
I because of my playbook, it said that I had a spot in the watch house by the wall, so I've drawn that in. I kind of decided that maybe our axis of attack, anyone that might be coming at us, might be coming from upriver, so I put it at that point on the wall.
Cool.
Oh, I also put in a Google drawing sheet with before the watchtower thing, in case we want to switch to that, or in case the sideboard wants to die on us or something.
Yeah, I did close out of that sideboard tab after I saved the image. So.
Oh, we're not okay. So we're not using that anymore. Okay.
I would have I forgot that part of your equipment and gear includes other locations, so I would have updated it had I known that.
No worries.
Wait,
I'm gonna go ahead and close out of that too then.
does the mage have other locations?
The mage has a secret place apparently.
Oh, right. I have the secret place, which I don't know where to put it. Do we want to use sideboard or Google Drawings?
If you want to, so the Google Drawing, yeah. If you have that up, let's go ahead and share that. If you have a link.
Yeah, it's
Sorry
in
to make
the
a redraw there,
folder.
Stephen. Oh, you just stuck it in the resource folder.
Yeah.
Very
okay.
Yeah, I will put the link up though.
Yeah. This is the part of the game that's less interesting to me. I really like all the fun making character stuff, but all the math and trad rules is less fun for me. But I would like to do what I can to make that process more smooth. So
Yeah, I've heard that. I've seen on Reddit someone was trying to port the character creation rules into Dungeon World. In case you're interested.
I might have to look at that for a future session. But today we're being stalwart and we're we're going whole hog here. Is everybody cool with that idea?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
One other thing I think might be cool to draw in. I haven't put any. All the stuff seems to be on the opposite side of the river, and we might want to put like a bridge somewhere on that river. I think that might be important.
Definitely.
So, Maria, if you want to throw that on, you've got a lot of stuff over there with the cave and Helga's home and all that. So, I just think that might come up at some point.
And you'll draw the watchtower again, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it back in again. I'm gonna make it more cylindrical, I think, this time.
This is definitely I think a game that does a little bit better face to face when everyone can draw, and has colored pencils and stuff. But thank you for putting that Google Drawing up. I think that'll help us out.
Oh yeah, I actually like Google Drawing, the Google thing, like better in general. I think it's easier to use.
Also, you can do stuff like the bridge looks better now.
That's a beautiful bridge. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I think in general this might be an easier tool.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So I do want to take a little bit of time before we kind of jump ahead to kind of solidify things a bit more in our minds here. Kind of answer some questions. First of all, when we look at Alfgeir, we said we're pronouncing it.
Alfgeir.
When we look at Alfgeir, like what does he look like?
I was gonna say wiry, but that is not the case because he has a constitution of 14.
You
So
can remember
life,
it's live. Okay.
life. Because also his dexterity is also 14. Those are his two highest stats. Um, and yeah, he wears dark robes because he came with the mage stuff. I'm not sure if that is also because it's dark magic or whatever. I have a ritual dagger and writing material, so do I know how to write and read? I'm
I
guessing so because
I hope
otherwise
so.
what I'm guessing so because it's like I'm I'm not sure if the rest of the village is illiterate though.
That would be a little tragic for your character to have all these memories from his parents and to not know how to read them.
Yeah.
I, I'm happy with that kind of thing of like maybe you have some stigma because you know how to read and write, unlike some other people.
Uh, However, people do like me, so even though I have a charisma of 10 only, so people still like me.
But it's just so dang likable.
Hmm.
At least as a child, we'll see as a teenager. Sometimes
I
that
know,
tends to
right?
change.
Yeah.
Alfgar's angsty.
Emo
They don't
face.
understand me here.
He's starting to wear
Yes.
those dark robes and listen to that heavy metal music.
Goth.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so by contrast, which is the word I was trying to think of so long ago, Brand or Steven, what does Brand look like?
So I got an idea where I can draw on that winter wolf thing. So I think Brand really identifies around having been the one that landed a killing blow on that wolf. But I think with his wisdom being super high, I think he actually has like 4 claw marks across his face, and that one of them actually took out one of his eye. So like in this very Odin-esque way, he's lost an eye, but he's kind of got this like insight um, from a near-death experience. We can even say, maybe he had visions or whatever when he was thought he was dead or something like that. But so he's lost an eye. He has these real distinctive scars across his face, and he still wears that like stark white wolf pelt over his leathers as kind of a mark that he killed this thing himself. Although he really didn't kill it himself.
Well, he has pretty incredible depth perception, all things considered. But I love that idea and that description. I think that's a really cool look, and I like the dark robes on Alfgeir and the kind of like bright white pelt on Brand. That's kind of a cool little yin yang situation going on. Other questions I had. Yes, I want to kind of interrogate this magical side of things a little bit. You are a student of the dark arts, Maria, but you, in every other way, seem like a cleric.
Um yeah, that's and I guess I use intelligence for my art as well, which is weird. Um but yeah, it's like I guess it's just which I like it's just witchcraft and I guess it's considered banned by society, but it's actually not that bad.
Hmm. You just
I'm
misunderstood.
thinking. I'm thinking. I'm just throwing out the idea.
I mean, that definitely makes sense. I could see maybe part of this village and this region's culture is that like death and dealing with the dead is very taboo. And so, just studying that, speaking with the dead is one ability you have, right? That's probably something your parents passed down to you, you know. Um, that could be pretty bad in their eyes, but you're likable, which is a very interesting dynamic there. Um, and so these fishermen took you on, Olaf and Grimhild, and these are your parents for Brand, right? As well. Um, but Brand, you said that you maybe hold a bit of a grudge or are more interested in the hunters, the Johanssons, and their sort of more active hunting and gathering lifestyle. Um, does that Does your preference of the hunter's lifestyle extend to your preference for them as parental figures?
Yeah, I think he's Brand is kind of like latched on to like Grima and Wolf as these surrogate parents and whatnot, and he's ashamed. He's really ashamed of the Johanssons, I think, and that more peaceful lifestyle. Like he would maybe make derogatory comments about like the smell of fish and the smell of fishermen and whatnot, and see hunting as more noble.
Now, Alfgeir, I keep wanting to go Gear, Alfgeir, you were adopted by these people and taken in by them in a really hard time in your life. You're basically like a foster sibling to Brand here. How does it make you feel when Brand makes jokes about fishermen and their stench?
Um, I'm not sure because my studies are in the art of witchcraft. They like yeah the like I like my foster parents, but and their kid can their kid is a bit of an edge lord at this point maybe. So I just take it in stride, I guess.
But the two of you do share this bond, partly because when that witch hunter came to town, Brand, you helped scare him off, and partly because this very defining moment in Brand's life of slaying this wolf might not have happened without Alfgar's help, right? Wow, that's that's what I like about Beyond the Wall. Weird saves and rolling under and rolling over, not so much, but
I
that's
think there
cool.
might be like, I mean, the contact I see between the two is kind of the death thing. Like if
Mm.
Alfgeir can talk to the dead, and Brand thinks that maybe he crossed over, he might have some questions about, you know, how that works and what's on the other side, and whether what he actually saw was real and that kind of thing. So I could definitely see him going to Alfgeir and sort of being interested in what Alfgeir is doing because of that.
Okay. So we've got that on the table. And to recap, we had something that happened earlier today, and now you've returned to a very different village. Another village was having a small festival. You decided to go to those festivities. So, what kind of a festival you think was going on here? I have some ideas. I know that one thing that you tend to see in rural communities, they'll have the idea of the state fair or whatever, but sometimes that's a way for young people from different towns to kind of meet each other and maybe form relationships and things like that, and then spread their genes around, so to speak, right? Not to be too crude. Uh, what sort of an interest do your characters have in romantic relationships?
uh Depends. I think Alfgar is uh not actively looking for one, but if someone shows up, then fine.
Okay. So did Brand drag you into this festival then?
I'm not sure if like would Brand drag me to a festival like this?
Yeah, I would say Brand is fairly aggressive in that way. Like he's hanging out with a bunch of sort of alpha male types on a regular basis, so he's prowling.
Okay, then sure, whatever. I'll join the party.
So one of the things that we do here is we have a quick roll. Um, it sounds like Brand is the one kind of leading the charge here. So you have a potential here to have made some friends with these young people in the other village. So you could call on them for help if you needed to. If not, you're going to return home a little poorer after
Okay.
spending too much money on festival games. So why don't you roll a charisma ability check?
Okay. That's a D20, is that right?
It's a D20, and since it's an ability check, we're going to be rolling under your ability score.
Okay, so under my ability score. So I rolled a 9. My ability score is, I'm sure, higher than that.
Yeah, I think you have like a 13 or
It's
something.
9.
It's 9. Oh, wow, I'm not terribly charming. Okay. It's probably because I've lost that eye there. Okay, so what happens with an equal roll?
Very good question. I think that I will go ahead and give you a modifier because you have this cool pelt and all these cool things. I think you have a very striking, unique personage at this festival. You know, you're peacocking a little bit. So we'll say that you make it enough to get a successful result here. So that means that there is a small group of people in this other village that you could call in for help if you needed to. We don't need to define them yet, but that is on the table as well. Okay. So, do we have any other questions before we kind of jump into the story here? Okay. We come back to the village, and things are looking a little different. I get to roll a die, which I will do physically, to kind of determine exactly what kind of a weird village situation you come back to. Hint, hint, it's going to involve goblins. So
Wait,
that's
so the village is also different?
um in the sense that something has happened, right? Not like
Oh, no, that
magical
the
change.
village is like okay.
Right. Um oh goodness. So you gotta keep all my dice out here. We're going polyhedral today, folks. Oh wait, I rolled the wrong one there. Oh no, I didn't. Mm. Okay. So I think that the first thing that you notice, Brand, when you come up to your village, is that none of your guard members or watchmen are on the wall. It's very strange. No one is manning the wall or the gate.
Okay, so Brand is still sort of flush from a successful outing and has probably had a bit too much mead, um, which might be a bit unusual for him. So I think when he sees that, he sort of reaches over and uh, um, smacks Alfgar on the shoulder fairly hard, and points up at the top and just sort of grunts. Something's wrong.
Yes, I can see that. And why don't you check it out?
Okay. In the mock cautious way of people who don't really know what they're doing, I think Brand is gonna uh, sort of sneak forward through the woods and try to get closer to the wall.
Sounds good. So to set the scene a little bit more, right? Um, the travel to the other village took you about half a day, but with going there earlier and then spending a lot of time and making friends, you had to camp overnight in the woods. So when you're returning, it's probably relatively early morning, but people would still be, moving around. You'd still have you have like the sun is out, and you said you're kind of sneaking through the woods here, right?
Yeah, is it like I mean I'm thinking north, so is it like snowy or cold or what?
Yeah, so I think it's this is going to be like springtime, so there's still some snow on the ground, but it's melting. It's like a spring festival that you went to, right? And they had lots of like bright colors out now that to kind of welcome the spring. So it's brisk, right? And the ground is a little wet and damp in some places. Um, but yeah, you don't necessarily need your full winter coat on.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So, as you kind of get closer to the village, you start to hear shouting and some banging, right? But you don't necessarily see anything yet.
Okay. So Brand motions back through the woods for Alfgeir. He holds a finger up to his lip and then motions Alfgeir to hurry forward.
I will do as you say. I'll hurry.
Okay. And as he's hurrying up, Brand is going to pull his bow out and knock an arrow, and then prepare to move forward.
Okay, so I'm going to doodle on the map here a little bit. That little circle there will kind of be the gate. So you're coming in from the east. That's where your village was at, right? So you're coming up to the gate here, and it's going to be able to swing open without any trouble. And you can see a group of like a mob of villagers, along with some of the watchmen, are banging on the door and the walls of a home. And you recognize it as the home of Olaf and Brunhild Sigvalson. Who are the Fishers? Your parents.
What's going on? I asked the guardsman.
Well, while you were out at your festival, we had a goblin attack.
Okay, question. Are goblins a thing that are well known around here, or is this like more mythical and not not a common occurrence?
Good question. What do you think?
I want to say they're not common at all.
Yeah. Okay, so I think maybe that they're almost more of like a boogeyman type thing, you know, like a story you tell about your kids.
Yeah.
And so they're like, at least that's what they told us.
And they're in there.
Well, there. That's what the Sigurdsons reported to us, and you can see them, you know, kind of actually once the crowd parts a little bit, you can see Olaf and Grimhild are kind of standing, huddling, holding on to each other, but the door it's locked and barricaded. No one can get in.
Have you tried the window?
So you look at the windows, and they've actually been boarded up from the inside.
Oh. Okay.
Do I know the guardsman? I'm assuming I do.
Sure, yeah. This is Toki.
Okay. Toki, was anyone hurt?
No, just gave him a fright. But you know, I think if both of them hadn't said the same story, I would have thought that it was just a nightmare.
Okay. Brand sort of looks abashed and embarrassed and looks from side to side, but then he moves over and begins to talk to the Sigvalsons to ask if they're okay.
Oh, Brand. Oh, Alfgeir, it's so good to see you. I'm glad you're okay. We were worried.
Yes. No need to worry about us. Is everything okay?
Everyone in town is laughing at us and looking at us funny, but something's definitely going on in there.
Yes, and as he's saying this, he's sort of trying to like put an arm around them and move them out of the public eye, like move them away from the building. Really, just because he's embarrassed to be seen talking to them.
You remember the tales we told you as children, right? Of the goblins who come out from under your bed in the middle of the night and steal all of your good meat and vegetables, right?
But you were always so full of stories.
Well, we were trying to teach you to stay in your beds at night so that we could get some sleep. We never thought that it would really happen.
All right. I'm gonna see if there's a back door or any place that the goblins haven't barricaded yet.
Well, this was your home, so
Yeah.
I think, is this something that Alfgeir might have installed himself as a way to sneak out of the house at night, or
Sure, that makes
something like
sense.
that. Okay, so you know where this is. So tell me what it looks like.
It's basically a trapdoor hidden by a mound of like up dirt and grass, and it can be opened both ways. So I open it from the outside and go in. Well, I tell Brand to follow me and go in.
Okay, so you're kind of trying to do this without the attention of the guards.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so as you kind of open this little door, right, light starts to pour in from the early morning sun. It starts to fill the room. Kind of you see the dust motes, right?
Mhm.
Um, you hear a scrabbling noise, like nails on wood, right? Kind of scratching, and then silence.
Does it smell any different?
Ooh, yes, it smells like overturned earth and um, like wet dog in a way too.
Okay. I think Brand kind of again thumps Alfgar on the shoulder and says, "Do you smell that? It always reeked of fish in here. This is different. This is something new." And he's still, I think he's still, he's got the bow knocked. Or he's got the arrow knocked. Like he's ready to draw and shoot if anything should pop out.
How do rituals work?
Good question. What ritual are you interested in using here?
Mage armor.
Okay, so when we look at that ritual, um, it looks like something that could take an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So it might not be the sort of thing you do right before here, but basically, once you get access to the materials and stuff, you can perform the ritual and has a pretty long duration. So
Okay.
How does skills work? Like Brand's got alertness, I think, right?
right,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that skills um, basically give you like a +2 modifier.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sure. So Brand, are you hoping to sneak in first with your bow drawn and see if you can see something?
Yeah, if Alfgar is kind of contemplating the mysteries, I think Brand is gonna. I can see him. He's hunting basically, so I think he's gonna start padding quietly. You know, he knows this house well, so he's gonna start padding quietly and looking for the source of the noise.
Let's do a skill check then. We will say wisdom plus your alertness, right?
Okay,
So
so that's gonna be
got to get under a
considerable.
17.
I rolled a 5 on a d20.
Okay, pretty good. So as you start to kind of sneak in, right, you're very much in hunter mode. So one thing that you kind of see before anything else are um, not exactly footprints, but like claw marks on the wooden floor, right? And you see that they lead to the bedroom, right? You can kind of see where it looks to be maybe not the size of a human foot would be, right? But maybe but larger than a dog's, right? Um, and you see the claw marks extend under the bed. And as you kind of stoop below, it's a little too dark to see what's underneath the bed. But that smell of wet dog and earth is stronger here. So if you wanted to see further, you would need to move the bed or cast a light under there of some kind.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll have my wand ready to cast the blue light thing.
So as your light illuminates the bed, right? You hear a hiss, like steam, and then the darkness kind of fades away, and you can see that the baseboards of the home of the house underneath this bed have been ripped downwards, and there is a tunnel, a hole under the bed. Those claw marks have scrabbled under.
Okay. So Alfgeir is sort of preparing to light up the room, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll release tension on the bowstring and put the bow down, and I'm gonna pull my dagger out. Um, and then with a real sudden movement, he's gonna kick the bed frame as hard as he can to try to uh, move it off of the top of this tunnel.
Yeah, and you do that, right? And you hear like a scream as the light from the wand and whatever is peeking through the windows here that are boarded up uh, illuminates the tunnel, and it's like a kind of noise, and you can kind of see movement, almost like rushing wind, like leaving the dark part of the tunnel that you've illuminated, and you can kind of peer into the hole and see where it leads down a good, uh, probably 6 feet or so, or actually probably be closer to 10 feet to a landing. But beyond that, it's you would need to bring a torch down there or something like that.
I will start onboarding the. We can access the whole house, right?
Mhm.
And and then I will start onboarding the windows and the door and all that stuff.
So I think you kind of take the barricade off the door. It looks like whatever was in here nailed like a piece of like the floorboard against the door and then put a chair under and stuff like that. So you're able to take that off, and your parents and the guards come in. They say, "Okay, what's going on here?"
Under the bed, and I point under the bed with my wand.
Hmm, that's a big mole.
Yes.
Hmm. Well, what do you say? We should just fill it in, right?
Is
It might happen again, so I guess we should investigate. I don't know.
Let me roll a die here real quick.
Mm.
As I look to my scenario pack. I see. Okay. Um, so I think that Wolf walks in now, right? It says, Alfgeir is right. Alfgeir is right. We can't just leave this hole to be filled up and ignored. We have to track these things down. We have to see where they're coming from.
which way does the tunnel kind of lead? Does it you said it kind of slants underneath the building, right?
Yeah, it looks like it just goes straight down.
Oh, it just goes straight down. Okay. So we can't tell like which direction it's kind of coming from.
Yeah, you can only see like the patch of bare earth beneath it at the bottom. It's not really the landing, right?
Okay.
So he says, This was no mole. I don't know if I believe it's a goblin, but whatever it is, it's not something to be trifled with.
Wolf, have you ever seen a goblin before?
Can't say I have.
How did it know to board up the walls and the doors? Maybe we should look into the house and see what other damage it's done, and if there was only one of them. So Brand is going to sort of examine the tracks on the floor and see how many were in there, and he's also going to kind of cast around to see if anything was taken or what was disturbed. He's going to try to figure out what they were doing in the house.
Yes. Brand, I don't think that you notice anything, but Alfgeir, something of yours is missing. Something very personal to you from your parents.
Okay.
What sort of memento do you think you would have kept of them beyond the gear that you bring with you?
I think it's just a pendant.
Okay. Yeah, your pendant is missing.
Okay. So I go up to Wolf and say, yeah, where how do you suggest we go about this?
And I think so. As Alfgar is doing that, I think Bran sort of kind of steps in between them and begins to take his wolf pelt off, and he says, "I volunteer."
Volunteer for what, lad? Are we just going to go on a hunting expedition down in the dark tunnels?
I see no other way.
That makes sense.
Hunting for what? A fairy tale?
Or well, oh, there is something here, or was.
So, to be clear, because you're teenagers going on an adventure, of course the adults are going to think that this is bullcrap, just to give you justification to be going out on your own, right?
How tight is the tunnel? Like, will anyone else even fit?
I think it'd be harder for an adult to fit. I think only you teenagers would be able to fit in here anyway. Especially
Okay.
how lithe you are, right? So
Yeah,
Wolf says, I'm thinking even young Scodir is not going to be able to fit in that hole there, boy. We're going to go look in the woods and see if we see any more sign.
Sure.
yes. And Bran kind of leans close and says, "And your knees are not what they once were. I don't think you would be able to navigate those tunnels."
Don't try my patience, boy. And he kind of gives you a noogie. Olaf and Grimhild walk up and they say, boys, this could be very dangerous. I don't know if you should risk going down there by yourselves. I mean, it's a dark tunnel and goblins and
Would you not defend your own home?
well, I think we're gonna go stay at the inn for a while just to be safe.
Yes, you stay safe.
Now, Brand, I know that you've taken up a spot on the wall and that you've earned your watchman's badge, but that doesn't mean that you can disrespect your mother with that tone.
I'll let you know when it's safe for you to come back to your home. And he walks away.
I shrug and follow.
Be safe, boys. Don't do anything reckless. Remember, they like to eat your bones with anchovies. Okay. So, current situation is we have the hunters out in the woods who are looking for more signs of these goblins. Your parents are going out to the inn, and now that all the excitement of the day is gone, people are sort of muttering and going about their daily tasks and getting the day started. It seems kind of odd that people are taking this gigantic man-made hole underneath someone's bed for granted, but adults never really seem to make sense. They're too busy going back to work, right? And interestingly enough, yeah, your pendant is missing there, Alfgeir. So that's something to keep in mind too. So, what are some other stories that you remember from your childhood about goblins? You know that they say that they only come out at night and that they prefer the darkness to the light and things like that. What else do you know about them?
I think we were told that they take children from their beds.
Mm-hmm.
and that the children that are taken never return.
I think this one would be kind of weird because they said that they were interested more in that when they come they're more interested in getting the children than any valuables. They just eat children.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you think that you've heard that their only concern is with eating children. So that's a surprise to you that they've taken your valuables.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So plan here is to just jump into the tunnel and start looking around. What sort of preparations would you do beforehand?
So I think Brand would definitely go and get if Wolf is off hunting, Brand would definitely go and make sure that Grima was at the top of the tunnel when they go in, because they're going to need to string a rope, basically, uh, run a line down into the bottom of the tunnel, and he wants her holding it.
Well, I've been well trained in how to sit around keeping watch all day, so I don't mind. I'll make sure you have a sturdy anchor here.
Grima, you're the only one I trust with this.
Trust to watch a hole with a line going down it. Surely your parents would be good at that as well.
No, no, I don't think they would be. They're in the inn right now. So, and he just sort of trails off.
Hmm. You always give your old parents too hard of a time, Brand. But don't worry, I'll stay here and I'll watch the hole. No worries. How about you, Elf guy? You want to perform your ritual here?
Sure. Yeah. I'll do that.
Okay, so you want to cast your mage armor. So
Mhm.
what is like? Where do you go to do this ritual? Do you just do it in your bedroom, or
Uh, I I think it's like, yeah, because because going back to the coven would be too much of a distance right now, and this is more urgent.
yeah? Now, Brand, you'd mentioned that you were sort of intrigued or interested in Alfgeir's magic, and I think that this is um, looking at the description on the spells tab of what this looks like, right? Um, it sounds like it'd be pretty interesting to watch. You're gonna be melting coins onto your bare skin and not being harmed by them, right? Would Brand stick around, or are you mission mode?
Um, I think he'd probably I think he'd probably want to watch, actually. I think he hasn't seen her do or sorry, I think he hasn't seen Alfgar do magic all that often. So yeah, I think he'd want to watch this.
So tell us a little bit more about what this ritual looks like, Alfgeir.
So it says that I have to draw runes on my skin with the blood of a tortoise, and that I must melt 5 silver coins, then pour the molten metal back into the back of my left hand. And the metal does not burn me, but bubbles and evaporates into smoke when it touches the rune fist. The bloody runes fade, and the caster gains the full benefits of the ritual. So yeah, it's kind of like that, I guess, and trying to do it silently.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, like, I wouldn't want to like necessarily make this impossible for you, but I'm curious to know, like, where you acquired tortoise blood and how you melted these silver coins. Like, what around your house did you use to perform this? And I think too, one thing that might be possible for Alfgeir is that you don't necessarily have all the resources that your coven use, so maybe you have to, you know, make some adjustments, right?
I think the tortoise it's easy to get because we're near a river and near the fjord. So I'm guessing we're near a beach like scenario.
Sure.
And then the coin would be, I'll go to the blacksmith and use their forge to melt the coin.
You'd probably be better off just keeping the coins than trying to turn them into rings, says the blacksmith.
Maybe.
Well, I'll give you a break this time, Alfgeir, but just don't go hurting yourself. That's very hot.
Yeah, I understand. So yeah, I now have 11 coin instead of 16.
Okay. But you have +4 AC, which is good because I don't think you started with any armor.
Yeah, I have an AC of 11 normally because of my dexterity.
So when you see this ritual going down, Brand, what's running through your mind?
What would he be thinking? I think Brand has always wanted to ask Alfgeir where his power kind of came from, and I don't think he ever really has. And I think every time Alfgeir has talked about magic, that's the question that Brand has. So I think Brand is trying to figure out where the energy actually comes from. Like that's what he's watching for.
And yeah, I'm like, I don't know, every time.
Teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever, man. So would you say that that's true, or do you have difficulty putting into words what you experience?
Both.
Okay, fair enough. So we have armor, we have Grima watching your back, right? Is it like so you have like a really long spool of rope that you're gonna tug if we have an issue is the idea, or
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. Was there anything else? Yeah, no,
Mm,
yeah, I think that was the general plan. I don't think Brand has any other preparations. I can see him at the blacksmith taking a few moments while Alfgeir is getting the coins melted down to sort of put a little bit more of an edge on his dagger. But yeah, nothing else.
okay. And you still have your loud horn, which could possibly echo through to this hold too, in case we have an issue. But I'd say that you guys have access to torches if you need them, right? Little stuff like that. I'm not too concerned about, unless Alfgeir would just prefer to use is that cool wand he found. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go start exploring the tunnels. Okay. So we know what the entrance is like. I get to roll a d6 to see what is in this particular room. Okay. Okay. It's like don't give me all fours in a row. So you drop into this is a little anticlimactic. But I think the walls here are tight enough that you can kind of like slide down slowly enough that you don't, have a very loud thump when you go down. And you could probably crawl back up the rope if you needed to. Grima kind of gives you her salute, and you come down into a room. It's just packed earth, but it looks like tunnels, right? Like it's been dug out. I think you can tell that tools have been used, right? You might even be able to see where some wood has been propped up in some of the corners here. Number of exits include none. Very mysteriously, there is no way out of this room.
Okay.
Wait, so there are tunnels, but there's no way out?
This is just a round cavity. As you look around, you see one tunnel out that has been caved in. So rocks have fallen to block this entrance. So wherever you're at, you would either have to clear out that hole, excavate, or something else. But whatever was here took your pendant and blocked their escape. So
I guess start clearing the cave in.
that could take you a very long time.
Okay.
It might be worthwhile to go and start looking for other entrances.
All right.
Okay. Before we go up, Brand is gonna sort of thump against the wall, especially where there's kind of the wood pilings. He's gonna thump against the wall to see if he feels any hollow bits or anything, just with the end of his dagger.
Okay, so what exactly is Bran looking for?
Secret exits, anything that's because he doesn't really. I mean, he's heard that goblins are kind of mischievous and magical and fey. So he's actually trying to make sure that what we see is real.
Yes, I love it. Because it would be much more boring if you didn't find a secret door. I will say that you do. You find a patch of dirt along this wall that is actually loose, and you can start to dig out much more easily. So there were 2 exits into this room. They double bluffed you. So you can tear away at this wall and see one further tunnel that kind of leads off into some darkness.
Okay, and you can imagine here, this is a teenager that's just found something for the first time in his life. So, Alfkar, over here, and he begins like pulling dirt out with his hands and sticks his dagger in his mouth and is basically shoveling like a dog to get all the dirt away. Kind of all caution lost.
All right. I will point my wand when needed. And help digging things out.
Cool. So, oh man, you start to kind of tear away at this wall, right? And the 2 of you make pretty quick work of it. And there's a tunnel before you, right? Almost like probably the size of it's like a little bit shorter than you are, right? Even as young teenagers. So you'd have to sort of kind of duck your way in to get into this room, to this tunnel, this hallway, right? And pouring into the tunnel is a very, very dim red light. Like almost doesn't even penetrate the whole length of the hallway. But you can kind of see this dim red light in here, even without your torches. But you said you've kind of maybe made a bit of a loud noise here, right? What's your next approach now that you have the tunnel clear?
I think Brand is gonna even before the tunnel's completely clear, just like basically crawl through the hole that we've made into that other tunnel. Again, kind of heedless of risk at this point. And then he's going to pull the bow off his back and again knock an arrow and kind of cover the tunnel while Alfgar comes in.
Okay. So you are letting Alfgeir take the lead, or?
I wanted it to just come across as like he's sort of not paying too much attention to the danger, but yeah, if Alfgar wants to take the lead, I think he would follow him.
All right, cool. Alfgar will, I guess, point to one, keep moving, and try to make sure I like to check whatever's illuminated.
I would like Alfgeir to make a stealth check
I
With
have training in
dexterity?
that, skilled in that.
So you need to roll under 16.
Okay. So that is a d20. Submit. That is a 12.
Okay, very good. So you're going to be able to um, sneak up a little bit closer, and you're going to hear voices. As you get closer to the room ahead, you can see it opens up to be a larger circular area, and you can hear, I think I heard someone. I think I heard someone scraping away at their wall. They're going to be coming soon. Get into positions. So what do you do?
I just nudge Brand to let him know that that there's people on the other side. I whisper to him.
Brand, kind of over your shoulder, brings the bow up to more like full draw. Can Brand understand those voices, or is that just Alfgeir because he's better at languages?
What do you think, Alfgeir? We have not yet established your language. I think it's possible that whoever these things are, they came and took your pendant.
Yeah, that could work.
That they maybe speak the same language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think what little you are able to hear of these kind of hoarse whispers is sort of like gobbledygook, like type weirdness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for Alfgeir. So I think that maybe we'll call this like a magical language. So this is something that you hear and understand without necessarily knowing that it's not plain common tongue. It's your Harry Potter snake tongue, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So something in there, they're getting ready to ambush you.
Knock some arrows into them. I nudge Brand to do so.
And he sort of, Brand sort of whispers back, I can't see anything yet.
Paint. Knock an arrow so they get scared. I don't know. And distraction, and then we can come out and then
Okay, so I think Brand sort of thinks about that for a second, and then he nods, and then he'll loose one arrow. So basically, like, we're at the entrance to this area that opens up, right? We can't see anything. He can't see anything yet on the other side, right?
Yeah, so if you get a little bit closer to the, still not fully exposing yourself, you can see what looks like some like roughly hewn furniture made of like rough wood and stuff like that. You see like a table and a couple rickety chairs, and the source of the light seems to be these like dimly glowing stones that are like kind of jutting out of the walls. But yeah, you just hear kind of this weird like hushed like nonsense.
Okay, he'll go ahead and loose an arrow into. He'll just hit the chair.
Great. So you hit that chair and it kind of topples over, and the table like flips up like something was hiding underneath it, and there's a small creature there, and it has like big pointy ears, like really really big dark eyes. It's kind of hunched over. It's very skinny. It's a goblin. It has like very very like dark skin, like almost black, like obsidian black skin. Um, and it's got like a little shield and a little sword, and it says "Aha!" Oh, but then it sees that the arrow just went into the chair, and now it's sort of exposed itself out of cover. So it's going to try to roll out of the way unless you can intercept it.
I have no ranged weapons. So it has to be Brand if he can act again or something.
Yeah, if Brand can knock an arrow quick enough and try to loose another one, he will.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do here. Oh, so we just have an initiative score. We don't roll for initiative. Okay. So I think I'm going to roll. We're going to do a little contested roll here to see if the goblin has a chance to roll out of the way before you get a chance to aim at him. So how about you just roll a d20, and I will as well.
Okay.
Oh, I got a 19.
Well, you're gonna win it then, because I got a 10.
Okay, so that goblin rolls out of the way before you get a chance to draw a bead on him. You have a very narrow kind of angle here, still stuck in the tunnel of trying to aim at stuff. But they know that their ambush has been blown, so now you kind of hear Alfgar, you hear cursing, right? Sort of, they're here, get ready. It just sounds like to you, Brand. Okay, so Brand is someone going to try to find cover in the room, dash out? We could play it cautious. What's our idea here? I'm sure Alfgeir is looking over his tactical options as we speak.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go. Well, I guess my initiative's probably higher, right? I don't know. I think I've read that warriors have like a tendency to go first in this, and I do have a 3.
You technically have a 3, so you would have an opportunity to move before Alfgeir.
Okay, so I think Brand is going to essentially move to the very entrance of the tunnel and kind of brace his back against. So he'll brace his back against like the left-hand side so that he can shoot to the right. And any goblins that are within his field of vision from there, he's going to take a pot shot at.
Okay, so go ahead and roll to hit. There's that same goblin that kind of jumped and rolled out of the way. He's scrambling to get behind like a low dresser. But he has his shield up, so he's going to have some cover when you do this.
Okay, wow. I just rolled a natural 20.
Oh boy, that's perfect. Because
is that good or bad?
the couple times you do want to roll over, I think, involve hitting enemies. So
okay, so I rolled a natural 20 with my bonuses. That's like a 23, I think.
Yeah. So tell me how you just kill this little goblin straight up.
Okay, which I feel bad about because they look and feel like they're kind of cute.
They do eat children though, so.
Well, yeah, they don't have everything going for them. So I think that yeah, I think that the goblin like raises its shield, and Brand basically just like lets off a snapshot, and the goblin raises its shield up to try to protect its face. And as soon as the shield comes up, it exposes its stomach, and Brand puts the arrow by sheer luck right through its stomach. Kind of right through the middle of its torso, right underneath the area that the shield covered.
So that goblin kind of doubles over and falls over dead. And you hear another goblin off to the right who was behind like a little cot. You hear him kind of shriek out in terror, "Oh no, oh no!" And then bursting out of the doors of like a tall like armoire is a much bigger goblin. Says, "How dare you take down one of the goblin dark bloods?" Ooh, that sounds kind of, I'm going to avoid that term. "How dare you take down one of my brethren?" And he's going to rush at you into the tunnel. So Alfgeir, have you positioned yourself behind Brand? Are you stepping to the front? Who is going to be in the direct line of this blow?
I'm not sure. Since if the tunnel narrow, because I think we've established that, so Brand has to be in front.
Yes, and you've just finished loosing your arrow, so you were at a poor time to respond. The goblin comes and swings a sword at you. What is your AC?
My AC is a 14.
So this goblin is going to miss in his hurried rush to bring his sword against you. Even in this narrow tunnel, you're going to be able to maybe suck in your breath and and dodge the this single overhand chop of this goblin sword, which gives you the perfect opportunity, Alfgeir, to respond.
Uh, Goblin has a bad view of me, so I'm gonna push Brand out.
Just bull rush right into him, huh?
Well, because I can cast Terrifying Presence and make the Goblin scared of me.
Okay. I'm
I
gonna have
think.
you roll an ability check here.
All right.
So why don't you roll strength to see if you can kind of shove Brand out of the way and cast this spell on this
All right.
Gobbo.
Let me look at my strength is 9. All right. Shermit. That's not gonna work. It's an 11.
Okay. So as you try to kind of elbow Brand out of the way, you're not able to push him past the goblin. So now all three of you are sort of tangled up in this melee, and you're not going to be able to use your bow at this range, Brand. Everyone is all tangled up here, and there's still one more goblin. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to act here, Brand. What do you do?
Yeah, so Brand sort of I think yells in fear as they all go down to the floor because he didn't expect that to really happen. And now all of a sudden he's tangled up in this mass on the floor in the dark. And so I think he sort of yells in fear and then whips out the dagger from his belt and just starts to kind of reflexively stab in front of him, being sure not to hit or attempting not to hit Alfgeir, but yeah, sort of stabbing madly at this this thing that they're tangled up with.
Well, let us see. Roll your attack. Keeping in mind, I do think you get a
You can
bonus.
also re-roll dice.
I get a what?
We can re-roll dice if you need to.
That is a good point, Maria, that I forgot to bring up earlier, and that is the fortune points.
Fortune points. Okay, yeah, I was going to ask what those did.
I meant that you can re-roll dice and roll for your party.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not the fortune points, but whatever.
It's a great time to talk about fortune points after you failed. Too late now.
Also valid. Okay, so with my dagger, let me get my. So I got a 15 total.
Okay, that just beats his AC. So you're going to be able to get some stabs in here. Luckily, you're not hitting Alfgeir. I would have probably done that to you on a 1. Roll your damage. While you're doing that, I do want to talk about fortune points. You have 3 fortune points. You can use those to either re-roll a die, help someone out even if you don't have a relevant skill, or stabilize if you're dying. So you have 3 of those to use.
Okay, so total damage for me is 5.
Okay.
And I should mention here too, like I think while he's doing this, he's remembering killing that wolf because I think it's very much the same thing where he was absolutely terrified and was just sort of madly stabbing and got lucky more than anything else. So I think he's kind of going back to that again.
Well, it's working out for you so far. This goblin is trying to get a hold of on you, and he's a little bit bigger than the others, right? So, but you're drawing fresh blood from this creature, and it's pouring out, spilling onto your hands. It's like a greenish kind of thick blood. And then you hear behind you this other goblin sort of like leap up out of from behind the bed. He's going to jump into the melee and just start attacking wildly. Does anyone have less than a 13 AC? Right now, I think you're both good because you have mage armor and leathers. So this little goblin's attacks are ineffective for now. Who I think Alfgeir, you have a chance to kind of brush him to the side, right? What does that look like?
Sorry, you were talking to me. I was looking over at.
Yeah, so this little goblin has come to try to stab you, but was not successful.
Right. Yeah, I just sidestep or roll off the melee, I guess.
Okay, so now that you have extricated yourself from that, what are you doing here? Last time you helped out Brand, you held down the wolf while he killed him, but what's it going to look like this time?
I'm going to take out my dagger and fight the little guy, I guess.
Okay, so the two of you are going to square off. And he looks at you and he says, you're the one who had my master's pendant.
Master's pendant?
It does not belong to you. It was his from long ago. You have no right to it.
Okay, what was that?
I do not have to answer your questions. And he's going to rush at you with his sword. But we're going to cut to what the big goblin who's wrestling you, Brand, is doing. He's being stabbed, so he's going to try to fight back. He's got this long sword, and he's going to try to bring the edge of it up against you to get you off and get some space. And he gets a natural 20, baby. Sometimes it's nice to roll dice as a GM. Let's see for damage. I'm going to roll this twice and take the best result, basically. Wait, that's the wrong size. Okay, so he's going to do 4 damage to you. As he sort of takes the edge of his blade and pushes you off, but especially what he's managed to do is kind of make you tumble over backwards and behind yourself. So he's able to stand up and kind of ready his blade. But you can see he's got lots of cuts and he's bleeding and he's sort of breathing heavily. So he's not doing too hot. Back to Alfgeir. This little source of information is charging at you with a crude short sword, jagged. What's your plan here? Do you want to kill this thing? Do you want to take it alive? What are you thinking?
I am going to terrify him into telling me the information I need.
Okay.
Using terrifying presence.
You want to
cast a spell.
Cast your spell, your Grim Visage, before he gets a chance to bring his weapon to bear against you. Cool. So I believe when you do that, you're going to let me check it out here.
Roll an intelligence check.
Yes.
All right. I will roll an intelligence check. That is a 17. I am going to spend a fortune point to reroll.
Actually,
do you have to roll for spells?
I don't know. Like,
let me check. Did you have an idea there?
Well, I was just thinking that I was going to do a help a friend. If that was an ability check roll, I could do help a friend on it.
How do you help someone who's casting a spell, though?
Well, I think part of the difficulty of you casting this spell is the fact that there's a goblin running at you. So if he could do something to distract that goblin or stop it, that could potentially help.
I was thinking like maybe he kicks the chair that's on the ground like into that goblin and sort of tangles it up long enough for you to get the spell off or something like that.
Okay. If that's okay with you, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Okay, so I'll spend a fortune point on that, and that gives the roll a +2 mod.
That's not gonna be enough, so I'm gonna have to reroll.
Oh, never mind then.
So I will reroll.
let's have you re-roll, and then we'll see if we need that help still.
Okay.
Not one.
Okay. Well, in this
Oh,
case,
no, not
again,
really.
very good for you.
Yes.
Awesome. So I think that basically the results of your spell here are going to go above and beyond, and we're not going to require a save spell or a save roll from this goblin. But I want to know, what form does your terrifying presence take?
Oh. So I'm guessing instead of rolling the spell, I should have like let you roll, but never mind. Whatever. Spell moves and speaks with terrible authority. So um. So yeah, it's going to be like a big booming voice that is not from Alfgeir, obviously, but it terrifies the goblin, and it just a bit. The goblin sees kind of like the room dim or lighten up if they are more terrified of the light. So
Yeah, so like the stones around the room sort of like brighten, and the room's filled with like this terrible red glow.
yeah.
And that goblin screeches and runs and hides in that armoire and slams the doors closed behind it. And you can kind of see the furniture slightly shaking as he's cowering in fear in there.
All right. It lasts for 2 rounds per level, so 2 rounds.
So, Alfgeir, you hear that other larger goblin, right? He says, you can kind of hear this off to the side, "Your tricks don't concern me, usurper. You are nothing more than a thief." But all that you see, Brand, is this big, bleeding, hulking monster slowly walking towards you with his sword, going,
Okay. I think Brand is trying to keep his dagger steady, like he's trying to keep his hands from shaking and trying to remember Grima's training.
Okay. So you're trying to like intimidate him that you will make a final blow?
No, like he's basically he's looking for an opening because the goblin has like a much bigger weapon, right? The goblin has a sword and Brand's just got his dagger. So Brand's just sort of like fainting from side to side just a bit nervously, looking for a way to get an in to finish him off.
So the goblin is moving slowly, limping at you. But then as he gets a little closer at the last moment, he moves with surprising speed and gets a 14.
Which I think is Brand's armor class.
I will give ties to you. So how do you just narrowly avoid this goblin's blow?
I'll say that like he actually just kind of stumbles backwards into the side. It's nothing graceful at all, but he just sort of stumbles out of the way. The goblin lunges through right in front of him.
Perfect opportunity for you to end this now.
Yeah, so Brand is going to try to strike upwards into the goblin's stomach as he sort of extended out past him. So I will make that D20 roll. So I got an 8, so that's not good enough. So I'll burn a fortune point and re-roll that one.
Smoke him if you got him.
Because I went to kill things. And it is even worse. I got a 4.
So as you go to stick this dagger into this orc's stomach without really looking, just pure reflex from training on those draw dummies all day, right? You hear a clang as your dagger sort of scrapes off what is a metal cooking pan that has been used as a bit of armor on this goblin. Brand, Alfgeir, you're kind of recovering from this spell that you've just pulled off. I mean, I think that this is something that you don't do every day, right?
Yeah.
But now you've had a moment to sort of clear your head, and you see that Brand is still contending with this giant orc. What are you going to do?
Stick my dagger into the giant orc goblin thing.
Yes, your ritual dagger. What does that ritual dagger look like?
Simple. It's
Okay.
oddly simple for a ritual dagger.
So it's not like a crazy wavy thing with runes all on it.
No.
Very practical witches. Go ahead and roll to attack here.
That's a 16.
I won't make you roll because he only has 1 hit point left.
Mm-hmm.
You stick this dagger in the back of this orc goblin thing. He slumps to his knees, says, "My master is coming back soon, and he will have his revenge." Slumps
Okay.
with a thud to the ground.
I will go to the goblin in the armoire and ask him who the master is.
No, I don't have to tell you anything.
Please tell me. Please tell me. Or you will end up like the other two.
So it's like at first it sounded like a little like kind, but so this is full on intimidation. Roll an ability check here. Let's see how well.
Charisma?
Yeah, and I'll give you a +2 since you've terrified this little guy
Alright.
so much.
Submit. That's an 18, so no.
Okay. Well, what's your charisma? Because I was thinking about giving you an extra +2 because you also killed his buddies, but I think still
No, that's not gonna be enough.
So the doors swing open before you have a chance to react. This goblin comes out with his sword, and he's got like his eyes are closed and like tears are streaking out, but he's coming. He knows you're in front of him, so he's trying to strike at you, and he only gets a 4.
All right.
So you're able to evade this blind strike, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond?
I'm gonna pick up the goblin and ask him again to to tell me who the master is, or I will stab him.
Okay.
Or are they too big for picking them up?
You can grab them.
Yeah.
This one's particularly small, I'll say.
Okay.
So let's kind of talk about the stakes here, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to make you have to roll over and over and over again to kind of
Yeah.
see what will happen. So if you make this roll, right, he'll tell you what you need to know. If you don't,
I'll have to stab him.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Or he will just keep on attacking you. So this is the last shot.
Okay. Right. Reroll. And that is still an 18. So I will
Okay.
stab the goblin.
You'll get your answers over my dead body. I don't have to tell you anything. The contract says so.
Contract. Okay.
And then you just kind of murder it.
I guess. I'm gonna keep my promise.
So I'll say you're definitely able to do that. But what I want to know is, Brand has been training to kill enemies and bandits and dire wolves and things like that. Have you ever killed anything before today?
Not really. I helped kill the wolf, but not really don't think I've killed anything before today.
Certainly nothing that's talked to you.
Yeah, no.
So what is that like?
I'm shaken. I'm shaken as it dies.
So it kind of, you see I think we don't see the blade enter it, but the camera shot, you kind of see the little sword slump out of its hand. And you're now kind of in this room with 3 dead goblins, and you're covered in green blood. You managed to make it through mostly unscathed. I think we had a little bit of a scratch from the fell edge of the larger goblin's blade on Brand. But there are, where did I get a 9? Exits from this room we see. Yeah, one door that has been sort of built into this into this dirt walls a bit, like spikes have been driven into the walls, and it has like a little crude lock on it, but you can see that that big orc goblin has a ring of keys on his waist, right? You have goblins here. Do you want to? What do you want to do from here? Bring them and show the adults, or see if you can find more answers?
So I think, like, the way I saw it, like, Brand was sort of trapped underneath that larger goblin after Alfgar killed it. So I think, yeah, I think he's pretty shaken up. Like, the thing literally died on top of him. So I think he's going to take the key ring and sort of look around and pick up his bow and his arrows and kind of recompose himself. But yeah, he's sort of in shock, I would say.
Okay. Looks like it might be up to you, Alfgar. You seem to also be in shock.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I start dragging the bodies back to the exit we know about.
So oddly enough, as you drag the bodies into the light that's streaming in from the hole above, they start to kind of smoke and burn away as the light touches them.
That
And
explains a lot.
yes. I don't know what trace of these goblins you'll be able to bring up to the surface with you.
Is the like the larger goblin had a big, like, long sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that like a really distinctive looking long sword, or was that like a human long sword that it had stolen?
It's distinctive in that it's definitely crude looking. Not, it doesn't look like something that a human blacksmith would like make. It's almost like made out of scraps. And it has like little notches carved into it, as if, like, victories it's won, right?
Okay, so yeah, Brand's definitely gonna stick that in his belt to offer as proof.
Okay. All right. So our next thing is going to be a confrontation with the adults, showing them proof. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and just cut to that scene, so we don't have to deal with the logistics of, tying them up. And yeah. But Brand, who is your rival in this village?
Okay, let me get another name. Let me see if I've. There's so many tabs. Hang on. So I think there's going to be another. We'll say it's a young girl who's about the same name, and her name is going to be Asa.
Okay.
Asa Iverdaughter, if that matters. And I think Asa was also I think she was also one of the hunters. She went out with Wolf and everyone else, and has been on a kind of similar trajectory. But she's, I think, going to be. She will have been born of kind of that group. Actually, why don't we say that she's Wolf's daughter? So that's more like her actual heritage, whereas Brand's is more fishing.
Okay. So I think that they've given Asa that name of Ivory Daughter as sort of, I think she has like ivory white hair. It's sort of a unique thing that she has. So they think she's a daughter of Ivory. But you come to the inn, the two of you, of course, with this long sword, right, that you're using as proof, and the adults
And
have
green
all
blood. We're also covered in green blood, so
green blood, right? You swing open the doors to the inn where all the adults have sort of gathered during lunchtime to sort of talk about how they're going to deal with this goblin menace. And Wolf is there, and he's saying, "Yes, Asa and I, we found an entrance to a cave that we hadn't seen before. We'd seen some signs of movement in there. We think that might be one place that they've been coming out in the woods."
And I think Brand will very dramatically like throw that that longsword, or try to throw that longsword to where it's like quivering in the wood, and he'll say, "We've killed one of their champions," which is not totally earned, but maybe a bit of an exaggeration.
Well, I mean, it was definitely larger and definitely had a bigger sword, so you can call it a champion. And Greenman, she stands behind you and she says, like, what the boy says is true. These are definitely something from beyond the veil. Dark creatures. I don't know why they're here, but I think we should go and root them out.
they said something about the masters, something that a master and a contract, and they will have their revenge.
So there's an elder here, right? And she kind of has like these milky white eyes that she's gone blind in her old age, but she's filled with much wisdom. And she says, "They spoke to you. They told you these things."
They said that when during the fight.
So Brand, you just heard some kind of weird gibberish, right? You did not know that they were speaking in a tongue that could be understood. What's your reaction to this news here?
I think he sort of whispers to the side and says, "You can understand them."
Yes. Yes.
Alfgeir doesn't mess around. Like, yes, I could.
Mhm.
Maybe that witch hunter was right. Maybe there is something dark that's pervading this town that should have been rooted out long ago, and now it's bringing trouble to us yet again.
Excuse me. We risked our lives down there, and now you want to blame me?
I can't think of any other reason that fairy tale creatures would be tunneling up out of the ground other than to consort with other magical people.
They tried to kill me. I don't think that's consorting.
Well, maybe if you weren't around, they wouldn't bother us anymore.
They wanted the pendant that belonged to my parents.
Oh. They wanted a pendant.
Yes. And they were talking about a master having a revenge, and I don't think it will be I I don't think it will be done once I'm gone.
Well, not certainly now that you've gone and killed them. I'm sure you've
I,
made a few enemies.
There's more. There's probably more.
Perfect. Now they're angry.
I think Brand will kind of step in front of Alfgeir and say, "If not for Alfgeir, both of us would have died. Alfgeir was the one who slew the champion."
So I think that your parents come up, right? And they say, "No, that was very brave of you. You've done well, but I'm worried that you're only bringing more danger to yourselves. You should stay out of this. Leave it to the hunters to deal with."
The hunters aren't dealing with this though.
So that's when Asa speaks up and she says, "I think that you're all being a little too hard on Alfgeir. Has Alfgeir ever brought trouble to anyone in this village? Alfgeir's always been very helpful, and friendly, and kind. I think that you're being awfully unfair, Elder, with all due respect." And Wolf kind of nods and says, like, and he even stuck up for old Brand there and helped him out. The one who slew the dire wolf. You remember that? These children have done nothing but been a boon to our village. I don't think
And
we should be too quick to discount them.
I think Brand
Also,
just kind
look
of
at, also points at. Sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna point out the green blood stained on both of us, just to point out that these things are real. Unless they evaporated with the light. I'm not sure if the green blood also evaporates.
I think I think the green blood and stuff. I mean, they would have to be a stretch for them to call this, fake at this point.
Yeah.
Very, very well. I agree that you two, these statements say that indeed that these are good children who've done a good service for our village, but we cannot ignore the fact that it's very likely that they've only brought upon more trouble to us.
I think Brand kind of steps forward because he's already mad because Asa is being more graceful and tactful than he is. And so he steps forward and says, "We were only defending the village like we've been taught. Should we have backed down? Should we have hid and plugged the hole?
Maybe we wouldn't have this issue anymore. Once they had their pendant."
There's no way to know that. We could have hid here for years with the threat right beneath us."
"Well, if you know so much, young man, what do you propose we do now?"
I think he sort of, again, dramatically picks the sword up out of the wood where he'd thrown it and says, "We fight them, we find them all, and we kill them."
Then this is when Asa kind of steps up and she puts a hand, a gentle hand on your shoulder and says, "That's very brave of you, Brand, but I have an idea."
I hate her so much.
We all are familiar with Riverwood's festival that just happened, right? And our village, we are a meager and modest village. And for us to undercome this tragedy is obviously very, very hard. But what if we could turn this into an opportunity? Maybe Alfgeir, who seems to be able to communicate with these goblins, sorry, random thud, could convince them to work with us instead of against us. They said that there's more of them coming, right?
Their bodies burn in the light. I don't know how they could help.
There's a very nice mineral deposit that we found out in the forest near that cave. Maybe they could mine some more for us, and in exchange, who knows, give them more jewelry.
I'm concerned about this master of theirs.
Well, everyone, we're not sure what their culture is. I'm just saying, before we go in and slaughter them all, maybe we could try to strike up a deal.
We can attempt that.
So this, I will point out, right?
Yeah.
The adults, of course, who are all greedy because they're grown-ups, right? They're all sort of murmuring and like nodding and looking to each other. But you, as less greedy children, might see that this is sort of an odd thing for Asa to be proposing out of the blue here,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I think Brand sort of is flushed, like his face has gone bright red with embarrassment and anger at this point. And he says, "What of the stories? What of all the stories that you've used to frighten us for all these years? If the goblins are so evil, if the goblins take our children, why would they suddenly come into our village now to help us? Can you all see that this makes no sense?"
Don't do anything foolish, Brand. We'll sleep on it. We'll think of the proper solution. And by daybreak, I'm sure we will all know exactly what we should do with these goblins. But it won't be up to you to decide. The cooler heads will prevail in this case. Young Asa, I think that you have a good head on your shoulders, and that's definitely something worth considering before we act too hastily. So, I think we'll just cut the scene there. But you do know these things like to come out at night. So these adults want to drag their heels and wait until the next day. Bad stuff could happen overnight, is what might be on your minds.
Yeah, I think I'll go to Alfgar and say, "You should not have told them that you could understand those monsters.
So
They'll only be more suspicious."
set the scene a little bit for us. Where are the two of you kind of confiding at?
I think I don't know if it's cool with you, Maria. Maybe we're like walking away from the inn. Maybe the meeting has either broken up or maybe we've been dismissed from the meeting even, so the adults can talk and drink and whatnot, and we've sort of been kicked out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, so he says to Alfgar, "You should not have told them that you could understand the monsters. You'll only paint a target on your back."
What would you suggest we do then?
You see how they've reacted. They have no intention of actually protecting the village. They never have. I say we use the river. And so out of character, where's the other hole?
Let me look at our little map.
Because I think it'd be cool to like try to flood the hole.
Well, I think for story's sake, I think it's that same cave that that was where you found your twisted wand of ruin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alfgaia?
Yeah.
So that that cave is where you might be able to find another entrance. If you'd be interested in going back there.
That's how are you suggesting we flood the entire tunnel system that we don't know how big it is? And using the river, how do you propose we do this?
I don't know, but we have to do something.
Yeah, we watch over the hole and see if something comes out at night, and then we can do whatever with whatever comes up.
But don't you see, if we don't take care of the problem now,
Yes.
the goblins will flood the village.
Yes, I know, but how do we cannot move an entire river and put it underground.
No, that won't work. You're right. But
Yeah.
but maybe we go in.
Okay.
Maybe when all the adults are asleep, we go in, and
they're gonna attack when the adults are asleep. Why don't we lure them out somehow?
Okay. We'll fortify a position, and we'll defend from the hole.
All right.
Okay. So we want to lure them out. What is it that you think that these goblins what would work as bait? What do they want?
I'm gonna
They
speak
want
with.
revenge, but
I'm gonna try to talk to Helga. See what the hell. What the hell do the goblins want?
very good idea. So the two of you have kind of walked away from the inn, and now you're meeting with Helga.
All right.
Okay. So you come to this witch's hut, right? It's sort of like
Mhm.
a little clearing in the woods, and this sort of grassy roof, and there's the chimney with smoke pouring out and candlelight coming from the windows. It's basically Hagrid's hut. you know? um, and the two of you are going to go and kind of speak with her about these goblins, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Helga is older, would you say? Or
Yeah. Yeah,
okay,
that makes sense.
so she's prepared some tea for you all to drink, sort of like her own special herbal blend, right? She says, "Okay, now what have you come to see this old witch for again, Alfgar? It's been too long."
There's a goblin hole in my house.
Oh, surely not. It's probably just a mole or a raccoon or
I
something.
show her my bloody green clothes that we haven't taken off yet.
Give me your hand. Let me see that.
They
Oh,
also took my parents' pendant, saying it belonged to a master.
oh my. Oh, this is worse than I could have imagined. Oh, all right, all right. Uh, she goes and like pulls out like an old leather-bound tome from a shelf, right, and kind of sits it down on this table, and she's rifting through. There's that smell of like musty old books filling the air, right? She's like, okay, there's some truth to the stories that you're told as children, right? Most people have forgotten about the truth that's hidden behind them. But yes, there are things that live in the dark. But it's very rare for them to ever come to the light. They're very chaotic. The darkness is disorganized. You said they have a master.
Yes.
Still like flipping through. So tell me a little bit more about this pendant. What does it look like?
It's also very simple and like maybe it's just a tooth.
Okay. Just one single, like a human tooth or
No, like a fang.
a fang? Okay. And she kind of comes, she stops and she comes to this section on creatures that would otherwise be mythical but are indeed real. Your parents had a tooth that belonged to uh, a wolf. That's correct, right? Um, the size of it would suggest that it belonged to the sort of snowy wolves that come from the primal winter. You know that winter that we had a year back. It was extremely cold. Do you remember?
Yes.
And that wolf that came and attacked you and your brother.
Yes.
It was no ordinary wolf. It was created from the basic elemental nature of snow and ice and cold and the predators that must eke out their existence. And then she kind of turns the page and there's this picture of like a goblin, right? She's like, now these creatures, they are formed from the primordial darkness that lies beneath the ground, right? So that is why they burn in the light. They detest it. But like I said, for them to have a master, that is very strange. For to have stolen this pendant. I do not know what sort of a creature would aim to earn the favor of such dark creatures, but surely that person would not be one that you would want to mess with.
It also wants revenge on something, and apparently the master wants revenge. Uh, how do we lure goblins out of their hole?
Well, I'll tell you what, you'd only be able to do it at night.
Well, yes, we know that.
Good goblin bait. I could prepare something for you.
Okay.
Consider it a favor for helping me out with that hunter that came by last fall. She kind of goes and grabs some herbs and poultices and eye of newt and rat's tail, what have you, stirs it in her cauldron, and you have this very.
Can I make a suggestion on that?
Yes.
In addition to like Eye of Newt and all that, I think it'd be kind of cool if there was like something from a baby's crib or something like that, like some kind of
Delightful.
something that smelled like children to them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would probably even be like articles of your clothing, right? Or like scraps from your sleeves or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Good thing we have children's socks here. That would have been a bit harder to procure, but I'll take those from you. Thank you very much. And she makes this kind of like bubbling goop, and she puts it into a wineskin and says, sprinkle this around the hole that you want them to come out of, and you'll be able to lay your trap. But be careful. These are dark creatures, and they only become stronger at night.
All right.
So when you return to the village,
Yes.
your parents have prepared beds for you in the inn. They're adamant that you must stay in your rooms and do not get out of bed no matter what. You are grounded. So what's the plan here?
Sneak out and lay the thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like nudging and winking before they head off to bed with the understanding that they're going to pretend to fall asleep and then wake up in a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because they're grown-ups, they're going to be snoring loudly, and you'll be able to sneak out. I don't want the failure here to jeopardize everything just yet.
Oh, I've got one other question. So, Bran took some damage, and I figure he's got like a fairly long like slash maybe on his torso from that longsword.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I could see where he sort of like peels off some of his leathers and like sees the extent of this and like dresses his wound a bit. Like, can you heal in this, or is that just kind of something that he's going to carry?
I'll say that witch is able to, she was able to apply a healing poultice to you, right?
Okay.
So you can go ahead and just recover that for now.
Okay.
But you don't, be careful with it, she says. But as you kind of sneak out of the inn, right? Grima is sort of leaning against the wall, smoking on a pipe. She says, I should have expected you would all be up and about at this time of night.
And I think Bran says, of course you should have. It's our duty. It's as you taught me.
And what do you think I'm doing? I'm guarding this village as well. So tell me, what's the plan?
Go to the hall and lure the goblins out and one by one pick them off. Hopefully.
How many do you think that there are?
No idea.
That you would suggest we just stab them repeatedly until the daylight comes?
Grima, we'll either be fighting them as they come out of the hole or as they're running amok through the village, killing us.
Yes, you're right. Look, my sword arm is still strong. These old bones have more energy in them than you might believe. What if we lay your trap, I guard your hole, and that gives you the perfect distraction to go and find the root of all this?
Makes sense.
You would do that for us.
And she won't be alone. And we see Wolf and young
Asa?
Godier come out. Ace is not here, just Wolf and Skuldir. And
Oh, thank goodness. I hate her so much.
And we'll be there too. I'm not the kind who would go and hide in an inn when my own home is endangered.
And
Knock at the very kind Sigvulsons.
Bran nods very sincerely and says, "Thank you all."
Okay. So we lay out this bait like in a circle around the hole, right? And if you thought that wet dog smell was bad, this is only worse. And you wait for what feels like an eternity, but is really only a few minutes as the sun fully sets and the moon rises. You're all hiding around in the corners of the room when two black hands climb out of the hole and thrust themselves up, only to be taken down by Grima, and another two pile out, and you hear shrieking. But Alfgeir, you're close to the window, and you do notice you don't hear screams or shrieks or anything coming from throughout the village. And after this room has experienced the death of 8 or 10 goblins, right? There's a pause. And Grima and Wolf and Skodir are all breathing heavily, but they say, okay, I think that's the first wave. You should have a chance to get down there now, and we'll keep watch.
Yeah, right. All right. So yeah, go down and backtrack, I guess.
So you go back,
leaving the wineskin with the disgusting things up, so that they can have more of that when the time comes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you go back to that large living area, and you see crude graves have been put up for those goblins. Their bodies are gone, but they have some tombstones etched with runes, right, that have been placed there. There you still have the keys, and there's still that locked door. I think it's kind of been left open though, so they came through there.
Okay, so I figure that Alfgeir is going first.
Yeah, with my wand.
Yeah, so and Bran's behind with an arrow nock just like before. So I think that's how they're going to go through the door.
Okay. Let's see what is in this next room. Need a D10. Okay. We come to our next room, and that smell of wet dog gets stronger and stronger. And you're moving very quietly here, which is good. Because you see 4 kennels put up here. And sitting in them, sleeping, are 4, it's a stretch to call them dogs, right? They're not exactly a wolf. They're not exactly a dog. They have that sort of canine appearance and very dark coats. They're locked up in cages, right? And I need to roll one more die here. Okay. Then one final one. Okay. What do you do?
So the dogs are sleeping?
Yes, for now. And you can see one additional door here that is locked. that's kind of on the opposite side of the room. It's like sort of a semi-rectangular kind of oblong room, and you have this main thoroughfare is flanked by 2 pairs of these kennels.
Okay. So I could just see them like padding very quietly through the middle of these things and trying not to wake anything up. What do you think?
Yeah.
So let's have the weakest link roll with dexterity. So whoever has the least dexterity.
All right, that's Brand. Also, I have stealth, but I don't know if that helps.
You can help him with your stealth skill.
Yes.
So
Okay.
you'll be having a +2 to your dexterity thanks to Alfgeir leading the way stealthily. You can kind of follow in his footsteps.
Okay. Hang on.
15.
Yeah,
So
I'm just
roll under 15.
it's on my tabs. Yeah, so I got a 4.
Oh, cool. So you're able to pad silently past those kennels, and you can get to that locked door. You can very tensely, you're kind of trying to quietly sort through the keys, and there's a moment where 2 clang together, and you hear a wolf kind of snore a little bit and turn over, but you're able to unlock the door and move on. The next room is going to be. This looks to just be like a large storage area. Lots of crates and things like that laying around here.
Are all these rooms, I mean, I'm assuming they're all lit by that same red light from the crystals in the wall?
Red glowing rocks. It's hard to tell if they were here before or if they were jammed into the walls themselves. But this is a storage area. So what sort of things do you guys think goblins keep in storage?
Weird trinkets, I guess. Maybe. Like the pendant, maybe. But that was from the master, so no. Maybe not that particular one, but similar ones.
Yeah, so like you see a bunch of crates. They're like open boxes in a way. There's things like cutlery, right, that they've taken from people, and family photos, and like animal bones, just weird stuff all gathered here. But it's very strange in the sense that there is no one here. You'd think that even in this storage room or treasure room, that someone would be kind of guarding the way, right? Let me look here. I have a feeling the Alfgeir senses something magical here.
Okay.
The source of that might be hard to tell. Maybe it's something in one of these crates. Maybe it's something else.
All right.
So you have the sense magic ability.
Yes.
If you wanted to take a few minutes, you could kind of
Sure.
do that. Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay. How about you roll? Well, let's see here. Doing so just requires concentration. Okay. There is something. There is a force here, a magical force, and it does not feel welcoming.
All right. I don't have anything to like get rid of dark forces. I don't want to bring it back to the village either. So I'll leave it be for now.
Okay. Well, I mean, you do have Banish Undead, which is about all you have there. And you have the second sight ability, which lets you see spirits if you use the cantrip.
Uh, that Like, does it feel like a spirit? I guess I'll cast second sight.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, it feels like you're being watched, right? Like there's eyes
Yeah.
on you.
All right.
Go ahead and roll under intelligence.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm going to represent that failure as this thing coming to you and not being interested in speaking. It only wants to fight you.
A
The,
spirit.
the crystals in the room start to dim, right?
All right.
The lights dim to complete darkness, so all you have is this blue flame and this wand. You feel a rush of wind, which is odd down here in these tunnels, right? It sort of extinguishes your magical flame.
Okay.
So you are now in complete darkness. What do you do?
I guess pull out the dagger and wait for something to happen. Shaking in fear. Because I have no idea what the hell is going on, so.
What do you do, Brand?
So I think Brand just tries to back up and go back to back with Alfgeir. Because I think they've done this kind of thing before. I think this is, how they fought before. So they did go back to back and just kind of cover every angle.
Okay.
But he's sort of whispering over his shoulder, "What is it? What is it? What do you see?"
Nothing.
It's dark in here. So, you have your dagger out, you said?
Yes.
And you as well, Brand, or?
I think Brand's still got his bow out, which might not be the smartest move, but that's what he's got.
Okay. You start to hear this low wailing. Sounds like a ghost if you ever heard of one.
Yeah, so I can see Brand just sort of like twitching the bow back and forth and trying to find a target as it gets darker and darker.
You see briefly like a sort of a translucent rags kind of like fly by in the dim darkness for just a moment.
He'll loose an arrow off. Like again, he'll like snap shoot at the rags.
And right through him into the wall.
So he whisper shouts over his shoulder, "What is that?"
It's a ghost, you moron! You can't shoot a ghost.
How do you kill it then?
You don't. It's already dead.
Well,
I guess I will banish undead once. I guess.
Okay. What does that look like? What sort of on screen would you see?
Blight from the one because I'm using the one spell slot, so I can't use my spells anymore. And yeah, I will try to banish this ghost, and that causes a save.
Okay. Very cool. Saves are equal to hit dice, I think. So why don't you roll a d20, and that's going to tell me what this thing has to save against.
16.
Okay, so I'm going to roll 2d6. Well, that won't beat 16. So what does it look like when you banish this wailing ghost?
The lights go back on, and there's no more ghost.
Okay, so the lights come back on. Sort of a white light that emanates from your wand,
Yeah.
right? And then you see the ghost kind of go and like flies out of the direction. It goes through another door, I suppose you didn't see the door before. It's just in the wall. But now that that ghost has gone through there, and with that light, you can see the outline of a hidden secret door in the wall. So, by banishing that ghost, you know that hidden door is through there.
And there was no other exit before?
Let's roll the die and see. Wait, which one am I rolling? This one. No, not that you saw. This would have been a dead end. These are very clever goblins.
Okay, so I guess go through the secret exit.
The bright light fades, the red, gloomy, dim light from the stones returns, and you've got this hidden door. You kind of can dig through there, maybe being a little bit less eager this time because you don't want to give them time for an ambush. Which one of these boys am I rolling this one? What time is it?
It is 9:12.
Yes, you heard my pacing whisperings. Well, that's a perfect roll because that brings us to a room. Well, that should be clear. But this is a smaller room than before. But one thing that you notice as you sort of creep through this again low, tight hallway is that the dirt floor beneath you kind of settles into stone, right? And you're kind of now stepping on cold stone slabs. And the room in front of you is illuminated by candlelight. And you see a bunch of candles are sort of placed around this low table. And part of the light is blocked by the outline of the silhouette of a figure in dark hooded robes.
Is the figure the same stature as the goblins?
No, this one is a little bit taller. Maybe more like your height.
Oh, well, it should not be down here, so I'm going to shoot it.
Okay, you're just going to go and shoot it in the back.
Yeah. There is no reason that a good person would be down here in the creepy place. So.
Ooh, okay. Roll a d20.
Plus everyone I like is up top. So I got a 17 plus 3, 20.
Okay. That will hit. Go ahead and roll your damage.
All right. Hang on. Sorry. Tabs. D6 plus 3. Damage is 6 plus 3 is 9.
Okay. Arrow.
Take that, GM's plot.
Your arrow sinks directly into the shoulder of the GM's plot. And the robed figure swings around, and you hear a high-pitched female scream. Oh! And then you hear something deeper, and it's not a cat meowing. It's me, and it's going. That sort of feminine shriek turns into a like an angry guttural groaning. But they're now crouched towards you, and their hood is still covering their head.
Okay.
Alfgeir, you see in the light that dangling from this person's neck is your family pendant, sort of shining off that ivory white tooth.
Okay. I will go stab a thing in the face because that's the only thing I can do now because I have no spells. So I will roll with my dagger. That is 11 plus 0, so 11.
So you run up with your dagger and you go to stab him directly in the face. Alfgeir's really taking a turn for the brave here when strong hands come and grasp your wrist as that blade is starting to come into the face, and you see hairy fingers kind of coming out of their talons, or at the end, they're digging into your flesh, and this person stands to their full height, still holding onto your wrist, and they shake their hood back, and it's Asa standing there with her ivory white hair, but she has these large canine eyes that have replaced her normal human eyes. And she's staring at you, and she kind of bares her teeth at you, and she's grown these long canine teeth. And she says, I should have figured you would try to interfere.
What the hell is going on?
Then she swipes at you with a great wolfen paw. AC. Oh, only rolls a 2. That's not gonna hit you, I don't think.
No, that's not. But we needed to see how the freaking magic armor works.
Oh, well,
Because its duration is 1 month. So
I think
and
it's basically
it goes away when I take 8 points of damage plus 1 per level. So when I take 9 points of damage, it goes away.
So what does it look like when your mage armor kind of deflects this very direct scratching?
The place where it scratched me glows a bit. It basically glows like metal.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah.
And she hisses at you and says, trying to use your parents' magic, huh? You never understood their true power.
What are you talking about? What is going on? Alfgar is very confused right now because yes, you can imagine why.
Brand, are you happy to let them hash this out discussion wise, or
No, I think Brand kind of thunders out because he's not really too aware of what's going on either. I think he just kind of thunders out, "Traitor!" And then he's going to go and try to sink his dagger into the shoulder of Asa. So she's kind of like holding Alfgeir, right?
she's got him by like one wrist.
Okay,
Almost
yeah.
scratching at him.
Yeah, so he's going to go after the arm that's holding Alfgeir and try to break that grip by stabbing her.
Let me see your D20 roll.
Feel like I'm going to re-roll this. So I got a 50.
You have a point left, right?
What's that?
You have a fortune point left?
I've got 2 actually. So I got a 15 plus.
Plus your base attack bonus, which is plus your strength, which is 2.
2, so 17 total.
Okay, yeah. So you're going to be able to sink this dagger into her arm.
Okay.
Roll your damage.
And that damage is going to be 7 total.
Oh my god.
Yes. Okay. And you previously did 9?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
he's
He
maxed
rolled
both
max
the damage
on
rolls.
both. He rolled
Yeah.
max damage on both.
so the GM's plot withers away and dies. No. you stick this dagger into the arm of Asa, who's now taken this wolfen form, and the hairs are all like they go bright white, and then they sort of like fade away, and this musculature that she had before sort of starts to shrink, and Asa, her canine features sort of erode, and she slumps down onto the ground. Blood still kind of trickling from her shoulder where that arrow is, and from her arm, but she's not dead.
Oh, thank God! Because how the fuck do we explain this to Wolf?
Right. She's like, you were always his favorite, weren't you, Brand?
What the hell is going on?
So I think he's still got his hand like on this dagger, and he's yelling, "What are you?" into her face.
I'm just trying I was just trying to help the village.
By becoming a wolf creature goblin thing.
you, you wouldn't understand.
You're
No-
right, I don't understand.
Nobody
Explain it to
understands.
me.
Your parents, they always guarded this village against the horrors that lay beyond the veil. They never considered trying to use them for this village's advantage. We've just been scraping by with our pelts and our fish. This town could have become a real harbor. It could have been something, and I could have been the one to lead things. I could have made this village great. Your when your parents died, I thought maybe I had an opportunity, and I learned how to consort with the things that lay below the earth, and and how to use their magic to gain mastery over them. And all I had to do was take your pendant to seal the contract. But then you all had to come and make a big fuss out of things.
Okay, I will take my pendant back. And then I snatch the pendant away from her.
Well, you'll you'll never get the information on how to take the form of a wolf from me. I won't give it to you.
I don't care.
Is she like dying, or is she? I mean,
Uh,
does she look like she's expiring, or is she
She's
just?
just really hurt, you know. I mean, I guess she would die if you left her in this tunnel. But she's like, don't you see what potential your magic has? Don't you
Mm,
care to know more?
no, I don't.
And I'll turn to Alfgar and say, "You see what knowing more has done to her. We can't let this live."
We're going to take her and give her a proper trial.
Can we trust her?
We are going to tie her up and get her a proper trial. She's still a person.
Does she look like a person now?
Yes.
Now, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, her werewolf-looking features have kind of receded now that you've injured her.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I think Brand will kind of nod and say, as long as we tie her tight.
Sure.
Bring me out to the light, would you? This is your last chance. I could still salvage things with these goblins. I meant what I said when I said that we could have them working the mines. Iron, steel, gold, who knows?
No.
You'd condemn us to poverty and ignorance.
And safety.
Oh.
By the way, what else is in this room? Is there anything is there an outlet to this room?
Let's roll on the treasure table. Treasure.
Wait,
I don't wanna-
treasure or out exits? Because we were looking for exits, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to get goblin mobbed while she's monologuing.
Yeah, no, there's nothing dangerous left here. So this is like the final room of this hole, right?
Oh, okay.
But as you're kind of like tying up Asa, and securing her, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do see some like chunks of shiny ore, right? Like silvery metal that she probably had took from as samples from the mines or whatever, right? That could be worth some money. And you also find a map, and this is a map of detailed holes and different tribes of goblins throughout the region and where they might be found.
This is useful. Let's take it back to the village.
Yes. So we'll kind of cut to the trial that you're holding here. Where is it taking place? Where does your, as a member of the watch, I think Brand, you would probably know this, right?
Right.
Unless you have a good idea, Maria, of where this trial might be taking place.
I was gonna say like Maria would, yeah.
The inn, because it's like an emergency thing. We just found Asa concerning with goblins underground turning into a werewolf and shit.
So there isn't really a proper courthouse or anything here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the charming young Asa that all the elders love so much. You have your proof here. And so tell me again, how am I to suspect that you didn't take this darling young woman and shoot her in the back? And how do I know that you haven't all been behind this the whole time? And this is the elder speaking. You know, she's a real crotchety old lady.
Jesus Christ.
Present your case.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Brand will step forward and say, 3 other individuals here saw us bring Asa out of the hole. Obviously, they didn't see her go into the hole. Why was she down there if she was not consorting with the goblins? Why do you have any reason to doubt that our story is true?
Grima and Scodier, they step up and they say, what he says is true, what he says is true. Then Wolf steps forward, and his eyes are rimmed with, red and heavy with tears. He says, it's true. My own daughter. It's her.
And I think Brand gives Wolf kind of a pat on the back as he says it.
He just kind of turns his head away from you in shame. The elder says, well, your testimony is compelling. Then the door to the inn dramatically swings open, and the camera shows heavy black boots with iron fittings kind of come in. And it's pans up, and it's this figure with this oversized cowboy hat. And says, I told you that there was a witch in these parts. If you hadn't run me off before, probably would have been able to help you out. Might have avoided this whole mess. And it's the witch hunter.
Oh, hey, it's the guy who was pursuing the wrong person.
Well, one witch, two witch, everywhere. A witch, I say so.
Also,
Which witch is not important?
Also, no one actually got severely hurt other than the perpetrator, so I guess this is a win. No one really got into...
I see you still have your same attitude, young man. But I hardly call this a trial. Yeah. What do you suppose we should do with this witch?
Isn't that more your field?
Well, I'm prepared to burn her at the stake if necessary.
I give him the map to all the goblin routes. She was trying to get goblins to mine for people.
Yeah. More reason for her to face the stake, I say.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the map with all the locations of goblin tribes.
Yeah, like, well, I guess I'll have to begrudgingly admit that you knew more than I had given you credit for, young Alfgeir. You have the Elder's Council's sincere apologies. Sorry, Wolf, but I'm afraid that we're going to have to proceed with this one's execution. She wanted to kill us all in our beds. I don't know what we could do otherwise. He's sobbing, He's like, please don't kill my only daughter. She's all I have.
Well, Skoldir.
The only female daughter I have. Brand. How you gonna weigh in, bud?
I think Brand is just happy that the trial is going in this direction, so he's actually just standing back with his arms crossed.
Your parents kind of stand behind you and they hold you and they're trying to comfort you, you know.
And I think he actually, like, he's got nothing to prove anymore at this point. He actually did something well, so I think he actually lets them, like, he doesn't shirk away when they touch his shoulders and whatnot.
Alfgeir, how do you feel about this form of punishment?
I tell the witch hunter, well, she was trying. Well, I tell the elder she was trying to get the goblins to work for us in the mines to boost the prosperity of the village.
Oh. So she wasn't lying then.
No, but she was using goblins.
Mm.
And she turned into a werewolf, Brand will interject.
Yes, that too.
A dangerous person, perhaps not even fit to be called a young woman anymore. Something more sinister. Well, I will leave it to her captors and the witch hunter to determine her fate. What do you say? She got in over her head and there's something else we can do, or are we going to have our final scene be you staring at a burning stake?
Alfgar would not want her to burn at the stake, but he can't stop everything, so.
Okay. Is there anything that you would say in her defense, or any alternative you would propose?
Alternative, work at the mines.
If you slavery, slavery or death.
Solid.
Well, I thought of it as like karmic because she wanted to make it like it makes sense because she wanted to. It's what she wanted. It's just not the same way.
Poetic justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Brand will kind of walk up to Asa. I assume Asa's like tied up someplace. And
she's been silent through this whole thing, just kind of sitting there.
I think he said, I think he says to her, you and I always competed, but I always knew that you had the best for the village at heart, and I believe you still do. As much as I think you would have harmed us, I can't see reason to see you burn. And he'll petition the witch hunter. Is there any way that we could let this woman live?
Well, Empire doesn't have much sway out here in the boonies. If you have something to propose, I'd hate to see such a pretty young thing be cooked alive.
I'll propose the mine thing that I just said earlier.
Because as a human being, I would rather see that than.
Yeah, I think like I could see Brand saying like, I'm preparing for a career in the watch. Perhaps my duties could be watching over her as she mines for the village every day.
And so we move on to epilogues. We see the new prosperity brought to our town, which we never gave a proper name. I thought we would do that after we do the map. What do you think we should call this town?
It could be unnamed for all we care. It's the end of the session.
Good point. We'll call it like Fjordstone, right? So the town of Fjordstone becomes prosperous and develops into sort of a prison camp town where a large prison is kind of erected around this old tomb that was discovered to be a rich source of ores and veins, and is develops into a full mining operation for prisoners. And Asa spends her days toiling in the tunnels, perhaps still consorting with those from beyond for her escape. But where do we see Alfgeir? Where do you go from here? What's your epilogue?
I am still practicing witchcraft or whatever the dark arts. Uh, I'm I basically tell Helga what what happened. I don't know, like her reaction. I'm not sure what her reaction will be, but and I'm not going back to to the cave because apparently that's where the prison is. So
So you avoid that cave.
yes,
And they kind of, Asa had alluded to how you never really looked into your parents' magic, but is that something that you sort of double down in your studies into?
yeah. Like I'll look into it in my free time.
And Brand, how about yourself?
So I mean, the obvious thing is I think Brand's going to more or less become the warden of that complex that's doing all the mining. But I'd like to say that like eventually there's an instance at the mine because they encounter goblin tunnels just purely by accident, more or less, underground. And I think eventually in the fallout from that, Asa redeems herself and fights for the right side. And I could actually see them getting together in the end. Like I think his story ends with him actually becoming or getting married to Asa after she sort of redeems herself.
Whoa, trippy. All right. That's our session of Beyond the Wall, the Goblin Infestation, which ended in a prison camp marriage, which I never expected.
She was released. It wasn't a weird prisoner thing.
Well, yes, you're right. But just the state of Fjordstone went definitely in a direction I did not anticipate. I would love to do some debrief and feedback with you folks. But what I would like to do here is end the broadcast and move over to Discord to do that. Are you all cool to do that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll do that for just a couple of minutes. It's getting really late here, but I'll do it for a couple minutes.
Okay, if you can do that, that would be awesome. So I'll end the broadcast here.